The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Monday. It's an overreaction Monday. We are talking about an Atlanta United loss to Inter Miami. We are talking about the weekend in MLS. We're talking about the moves around Europe with Gareth Bale back in London at Tottenham. Luis Suarez on the move. All kinds of stuff on an overreaction Monday. You guys know the drill by now. But if you're new, we'll remind you. You can tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Let us know your thoughts on any and all of the above. Let us know via email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. You can also join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. You guys have questions or comments, we will take them and we will talk about them, and we'll go from there. I'm sure there's a lot of things to get into from the match from the weekend as John rubs his hands together right in front of the microphone.
Oh, that picked that up?
Yeah, very loudly.
Oh, wow.
Good job. It's called a mic. It's what it does, you know.
I didn't know how sensitive
it's not new technology.
No, but I just didn't know how sensitive it was.
John with new microphones. It's always a dangerous proposition, you guys. All right, let's see what people are talking about. Let's start with, I guess, the timeline, because you were tweeting from the press box and you were tweeting and asking for comments immediately after the game. If you want to hit some of the highlights there, and we'll move forward.
Well, Chris Hutchison had a highlight. He says he likes puppies.
I do like puppies. I agree with Chris. Puppies are always good. There's no overreactions about liking puppies.
No, but there were other overreactions as well. And Bartimus Prime, and this is a reminder, this is after the match, and we're going to be working our way forward as the show goes on. Mm-hmm. Bart, after the match, says we need a real manager, not a new DP.
Stephen Glass is in a tough spot here. He's the interim manager. I mean, it's the equivalent of the substitute teacher in a lot of ways. And honestly, the goals you gave up, really not much to do with the manager. Just being real with you. The lineup that was picked for this match, what other options did you have without Ezequiel Barco and going into another week where you have 3 games? I don't know. I don't know, and maybe, and I've seen it start to creep up, people say, well, the 2's results weren't good. So, and look, as we've said many times, the 2's are a very different situation. The 2's are like the academy. Your club's success is not measured by how many trophies your academy or your second team, your reserve team wins. Your club's success is measured by who is produced from those teams. So it's a different job. So that has nothing to do with it. Stephen Glass has nothing to do with conceding a goal on a throw-in, guys. Nothing. It's and I know there's many other things that go into this, but I'm going to draw one very direct conclusion here, one very direct parallel. You can talk about the Atlanta Falcons and coaching all day, every day, and there's plenty of things to get into. There's plenty of decisions from yesterday to get into. But blaming the head coach for players not grabbing an onside kick, that's not on the head coach. They know how to defend a throw-in, how to stay switched on. I mean, multiple players were slow to react. Multiple players were out of position. Multiple players allowed Miami to react quicker. This isn't U12s. Stephen Glass can't tell them how to defend a throw-in at that stage. You do need a manager. Don't get me wrong. I want that to be understood. You need to get a manager. That's something you need to do. But that doesn't change things immediately. And no, you should not hold off on a signing that you think is a good signing for your club because the manager is not in place. Because you would be making the signing with or without the manager in place. The signing that is being talked about, and we can update you just a little bit on where things stand with Marcelino Moreno, or at least from what we're hearing out of Argentina. He had a training session with Lanús over the weekend. That was his goodbye to his former teammates. Former is what it sounds like, because he's expected to be headed to the United States in the next couple of days. That deal looks like it's moving forward. You would not say no to that with a new manager coming in. If a new manager is in place, you're still going to make that deal. That needs to be understood. You do need a new manager, but to use that as the excuse for not defending a throw-in or even the first goal you conceded. There's only so much an interim manager can do right now with the issues that are on the field and the way the team is playing at times, and the injuries and the season that you're having. All those things make it very difficult for somebody to step in and try to do the job that Stephen Glass is doing. I think he's taking way too much criticism here. Keep going from Bart.
Oh, no, that was it for Bart.
Oh, okay,
I mean, he has some stuff in this morning in addition
then
to.
We'll come back to you, Bart. But yeah, I don't think that's the big fix. I don't. I think you are always going to be hamstrung this season without your top goal scorer. That's an absolute. But you haven't figured out a way to counteract that yet. And that was something that I think ended up, along with other things, along with it seeming like he had at least to some degree lost the locker room. I think that's what cost Frank DeBoer, at least to the point that they decided to both walk away, and he said that it was pretty much told to him to walk away, and hey, whatever. At the end of the Orlando tournament, we were no further along to how you were going to play without Joseph Martinez. And it's been a challenge since, because it's a challenge. It's a challenge. And that's always going to hurt you this season. There's no way around it. But you're giving up goals right now in a situation where you're already going to be offensively challenged, and you're giving up bad goals. You're not giving up a ton of them. You're not looking like San Jose. You're not looking like LAFC. You're giving up really bad goals. And that's a problem, because if you correct that, you're in a very different position. You're not going to score a ton, but you're still going to be far more competitive and be in a much better position in the Eastern Conference. These bad goals you're conceding are killing you. There's just no way around that.
Jason Heinley was in quickly after the match. He says, until the end, we'll win again. Nathan Pugh had a GIF that said, we suck. And I'm going to say this one from Sean Vergara, because you got into the conversation with Sean. I'm putting this out there because I don't know how many people saw it. Sean says, we just aren't that good. It's just that simple. Let's build for 2021. Gallagher was good, but once again, we can't give up 2 first-half goals and expect to win. The team needs more than just one man to fix things. No urgency in the second half.
Yeah, see, I said I disagree with the urgency thing. What did I agree with? I don't even remember. It was in the middle of a show.
Agreed on giving up early goals.
Yeah. You keep giving up early goals, you're screwed. There's just you can't. But the urgency thing, because I've seen this both ways, and I don't know, you guys got to tell me how the feeling is, because it feels like half the time there's no urgency, nobody's playing hard, nobody's trying, and then half the time they're playing their hearts out. I don't know which one it is, but that's what I'm seeing out there. Let me know what you guys think. I think they're playing very hard. I don't think the urgency is the issue at all. I think confidence is an issue, and you have low confidence when you're conceding early goals. After you concede goals and you know you're offensively challenged, you're not going to find a lot of goals, it's a dent to your confidence. There's no way around that. I look at it as that and not urgency. I don't think this team, I mean we're going to go into all the old school cliches here, I guess, but this team is not, for a lack of effort, this team, it doesn't, they have the want to gene. I mean, what else do you want? Like, they're playing hard. They're also tired at times. There's no way around that. But they're playing hard. This team is not quitting on you. Urgency, if you want to take it a step further, if you want to say, well, they need to get more direct late in matches, okay, that's a different conversation. If you say you want them to take more risks at the end of matches when they're losing, okay, that's a different conversation. But urgency, for me, comes back to want and effort, and those are two things that I'm not questioning right now. Focus, confidence, those things are separate from effort and urgency to me.
Benjamin Cooper, after the match, said Glass can screw off, get a competent manager, and then I may be interested again. We looked about as sharp as a marble.
See, I mean, that's the thing, is I think your interim manager's taking a lot of the brunt here, and it's not on him. Because, again, there were a lot of people who said you remove Frank DeBoer from the equation, everything's fixed. Nope. You remove Stephen Glass from the equation. No, it's not fixed. It's not. You're going to be limited this season no matter what because of the lack of a goal scorer up top. And Adam John works very hard. Cubo Torres has not found his footing yet. He had a great chance in this one, and Luis Robles made a very, very good save. That's a step in the right direction from Cubo, who had been missing the target. This time he forces a big save. That's good. It's taken him a little bit longer to get going than I think anybody would have hoped. But that's your number one issue. On top of that, you're conceding these bad goals. That's your number two issue. That's it. I don't think you pin everything on Steven Glass because, I mean, tell me, do you think this team is better or worse than the Columbus match in Orlando? I think they're better. I think they're better because that game for 45 minutes did look like an issue with effort and did look like an issue with, does this team want to play here? I haven't had that question since. I have not. Now, there's a difference between being tired and playing what we saw in the first 45, which had nothing to do with being tired in Orlando against Columbus in a must-win game. That was my glaring concern with, wait a minute, what's going on with this team? This is not right. Right now, we can get into what's going on with the bad goals you're conceding, with early goals you're conceding, et cetera, but I have not had that same question. So I think some people are trying to put that they don't want to play for Glass on this, and, well, I mean, I got a news flash for you guys, then, if that's the case. If the players did not want Frank de Boer here, and if you read the articles, if you listen to people say things last year and question things, that's a connection of dots that you could make. Okay? That's a very simplistic way to put it, but okay, you want to put that there, fine. Well, now he's not, and now you have an interim manager in, and everybody knows. These are professionals. Everybody knows that situation. You have an interim manager come in, it's on you. It's on the players now. It's on the players to show, one, that if they wanted a change, they got it, so where's the response? If, they didn't want the change, and they got the change anyway, you still know that now everything's up for grabs because there will be a new permanent manager in place. There will be changes made because there's always changes made when there's a new manager in place. Same system, don't take it too far here because that's something that I'm seeing a lot of. Same system, same idea, same way to play, same types of players are going to be prioritized. That doesn't mean that a manager doesn't come in and say, I like this guy, I don't like this guy. Well, he's played 70 games over the last 2.5 years, et cetera. No, he doesn't fit for me. I don't like him. I want this guy instead. That's what happens. So now you have a situation where you know that's coming. So where's the response? This doesn't have to be handed in a book. I mean, it's a question as to, on these set pieces, on these lack of focus issues. And yes, being tired has had an issue with that. It has. It absolutely has, but it wasn't this time. I mean, you conceded on the throw in the first 15 minutes. It's a throw. It's a throw-in. It is a throw-in for the other team. It's a throw-in. And it ended up in the back of the net. That's inexplicable. That can't happen. That's not on the coach. That has nothing to do with the manager. That's basics. It's basics. And there are some players who are taking advantage of the opportunity in front of them. John Gallagher had a great night. John Gallagher has given you good work rate in terms of defending and getting forward. He has brought this team a spark. He's versatile. John Gallagher has made the most of the opportunity, and right now it's hard to take him off the field. Brooks Lennon had a poor match in Nashville, and he didn't start here, probably because of that. Who else has taken advantage of it? George Bello has taken advantage of it, but that's not a surprise. George Bello was going to be the starter last year, and injuries derailed that. George Bello is the starter right now, and he's doing exactly what anybody who watched him play in the academy or with Atlanta United 2 thought he could do. And he's only getting better and better each time out. Anton Walkes has taken advantage of the opportunity. Anton Walkes was brought here to be a reserve defender, to play all over the back line. He's had to play a lot more because of injuries to Fernando Meza than was expected, and he's delivered. Was he brought here to be the starter? No. And don't twist yourself into a pretzel saying that he was the LGP replacement. #replacement. No, he wasn't. Fernando Meza was, and he's only been able to play 6 times. And that's hurt. That's absolutely hurt because you haven't had continuity in the back line. But Anton Walkes has delivered. Anton Walkes has played well. You need more names. You need more names in that situation. This is where you need people to step up. You need performances to where we're going through a list of people who are making the most of this opportunity. And it's not a long list. And I don't know what to tell you about that. That's a frustrating thing. There should be more names on that list.
Colin Martz agreed that man of the match was John Gallagher.
Yeah.
Pierce came in and said, it's clear we have a temp manager. His Middletons. The attack and midfield have no structure. Get a coach in and let him right the ship.
The structure thing, for me, the structure getting into the final third is where the problem is. I know a lot of people have talked about the building up out of the back. I know there's some tweets in that regard. I really have far less of a problem with that than I do with getting into the attack. And there is a balance you strike with creating attacking structure because you don't want it to be too structured. Not when you have players who can play. And this is a club that will always have those players and want to have those players. Well, Ezequiel Barco not in the team hurts you in that regard. You still created double-digit chances in this one, and you could say you looked better in the attack than you have in recent matches. You needed more from Mateo Sosetu going forward. I thought he was very good in the midfield, and I think he's been very good in the midfield. You need a little bit more pushing forward. You needed something out of Emerson Hyndman, and again, it was good, but it wasn't what you needed going forward. It was at a point where you needed Hyndman and Castro, especially when they checked in, to give you some spark in that moment. And you didn't. You didn't get it. Gallagher was absolutely man of the match. There's no question about that to me. In the structure in the midfield and the attack, you need talent there first off. And obviously, and I know we keep saying it, and I know it seems to bother people. I don't know why. You have more structure with Joseph Martinez, period, because you have a goal-scoring threat. Right now, you don't have a goal-scoring threat, so teams are easily able to, when Barco's in, for example, double-team, because they don't have the same respect level for others. When Pitti and Barco were together, it was a little bit harder to do that. They would find more space. Now, if it's just Barco, you're able to do that. Teams have to adjust to that. So you have to have the runs off the ball to open up the space when Barco draws the double team. And you have to find other ways, because you can't keep sending Barco into double teams in those situations. And he wasn't even here. So it was easier for Miami's defense, which still had problems. I'm still not convinced by Miami's defense. You didn't get enough going forward, and you didn't get enough performances out of the midfield to step up. You needed more numbers forward. And this is where the early goals kill you, in my opinion, because when you're even and when you're playing well, and you guys know from playing and being at games, you feel momentum. It's hard to quantify, but you feel it. And you feel when a team is taking control of a match. And then the classic, goal scored against the run of play, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't feel like Atlanta ever takes the momentum after they concede, even when they respond. And the responses are good. They have scored goals after they've fallen behind, but then they've given up another one. And this time in a horrible way. That has to change, because what happens is then you get tight. Then you get conservative. Then you get worried about pushing numbers forward because you're not controlling the game. You're not feeling it. It makes it easier for the opponent to drop more numbers behind the ball. Then you have to send more numbers forward. Then you're increasing the risk. Absolutely. At some point in the match, and this has been the missing element for me late in games, is that complete risk. Is that total risk of, okay, we're down 2-1 here. If we concede a third, we concede a third. It's still a loss. But we've got to send more numbers forward and really go for this. And it doesn't happen consistently enough. And that's a challenge, and that's an issue. But you have to stop conceding first to affect all of these things in terms of the confidence and getting more numbers forward. It's not as much of a structure issue to me as it is a numbers issue. When you fall behind, the defense can drop deeper, and it becomes an easier game for them.
Ellen Reynolds says the season has been ugly. You can't even point to one specific thing, really. It's just off. I feel for the guys. To us, it's just our favorite team doing poorly, but for them, it's their careers. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean it stinks. These are guys, like I said, who are playing for their futures. There's guys who might not be here next year because a new manager is going to come in. There's guys who might be in different roles. There's guys who can take advantage of this time. It's a rough time whenever a team is struggling to get goals and a team is struggling to get results. It's a tough time because the pressure ramps up, the concern about the future ramps up. And that's all on top of a year that's already a tough time. I mean, look, for a team that's playing well right now, it's a tough time because of everything that these players are doing to be able to play. Games are weird. Training sessions are weird. Anything's weird. Travel's weird. All of it's weird. It's tough. And when you add bad results into it, it can snowball. And it's snowballing right now. It's a gigantic snowball. And you've got to get a result here to change that momentum. The Orlando draw could have been a spark in that direction, and it was not. It needed to be, and it wasn't. So now you got to go find another spark. And you get a chance on Wednesday against a very good team in Dallas. A very young team, but a very good team in Dallas who's coming off a big win in Kansas City. And then you go to Chicago, a team who is still trying to figure it out. A lot like you, actually. You've got to get some momentum going. You've got to get some momentum going. We should find out the rest of the schedule sometime this week. Stephen Goff of the Washington Post has tweeted that pretty consistently. There's been some issues when it comes to the Canadian border, and now at least there's a resolution. The Canadian teams are not going to be able to come back and forth, so they can't train in Canada and then come play and then go back. They're going to have to set up shop in the U.S. They did for this little 3-game stretch. So now you've got to figure out what you have to do for them to be able to do it. Do they need to go back for a week? Do they need to go, have a chance to get things settled before coming back for a month to finish things out? You've got to sort that out now in your scheduling. So hopefully in the next couple of days you'll get the final 9 games over the over October and I think the first week in November. So it'll still be compressed. I mean, it's what 2020 is. It's really difficult, and for a team like Atlanta that is struggling with a compressed schedule, it's not going to get any easier. You've got to find a spark and got to find a result as fast as you can to get any kind of momentum going.
El Mataflo has a request, and he says, Can we go over the roster this upcoming week? The combinations from midfield forward are just not clicking, and there seems to be no plan right now. I'm just a bit frustrated. Again, Bello and Gallagher were good.
Yeah, it comes back to this idea of not being a plan. That's unfair to me. That's completely unfair. There's obviously a plan. It's not like they're just pulling out names out of a hat. Hold that one, write it down on your legal pad, and let's come back to it where we have a little more time, because I don't want to miss a whole bunch of other stuff. We will get to that, Mataflo, I promise you. Probably in the last 30 minutes of the show is what I want to shoot for. I'd like to get through everything else, because that one's going to take a minute.
That's why I wanted to put it out there and figure out when you wanted to do it.
Yep.
Cupper says that we need 3 DPs playing. Jake Michaels came in.
Hold on.
Oh, right.
There was a lot of talk about the designated player situation. I don't care about roster designations. I don't care about, well, this guy's making more money, so he should be playing. I don't care about that stuff. You need your 3 best players on the field. Generally, if you're building your roster right, your designated players are going to be your 3 best players. It's not always the case. You could argue that in Chicago, for example, Ignacio Aliceta could become one of their 3 best players. I don't think he is right now. You need your best players on the field, period. Barco couldn't play. Took a knock in training on Friday. It was a last-minute thing. Glass told you in the post-game press conference. What more can he do? Again, that's where it gets difficult for him. I mean, look at, and this is maybe why the frustration and some of the comments that have come out about Stephen Glass have really frustrated me. Look at what he's had to deal with. Come in mid-season, take what you want from the comments that were made by players and comments that came out after Frank de Boer left. He came into a situation where it needed fixing, I guess, is the best way to put it, the easiest way to put it. And that's what everybody said coming into it. He's dealt with that. He's dealt with a compressed schedule where he hasn't really been able to train with this team very much. He did this past week. He's dealt with Pity Martinez being ready to play the night before a game and then being pulled because of a transfer that came up. He's dealt with Ezequiel Barco being ready to play 2 nights before a game this week and then couldn't play after the training session on Friday. I mean, he's dealt with Jurgen Damm going down with a hamstring. Like that, which is already a tough job. Being an interim manager coming into that situation is very difficult. You add that stuff to it, it's been incredibly hard for him. That's why the criticism for me is completely and utterly unfair. But when you get down to it with needing your best players on the field, it makes you better. I mean, talent wins. It does. Where it doesn't, that's where you start to look at things and figure this out. Talent wins. Teams that spend more money generally are going to win more games. When you have your best players on the field, you're going to win more games. One player right now you can't have on the field, and Joseph Martinez. He's injured. There's nothing you can do about that. Ezequiel Barco has been consistently getting these little injuries, and that's frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's frustrating for him. I mean, look, there's no real benefit here to him. I saw some people trying to allude to some shots here on Ezequiel Barco about this, and what good is it doing to him? I mean, he's trying to improve his stock. He's trying to improve as a player so he can get a contract in Europe. That's what he wants. That's what any young player wants. That's why he came here. He wanted that opportunity to, yes, get paid well while he was here, yes, be with a good club, but also to move on to a big club in Europe, because that's how it goes. Look back at any great young Argentine player. That's just one country we're talking about here. That's what you do. That's what you do. You make it to Europe. If you are a top player, you make it to Europe. That's what he wants. He's not going to get there by not being able to play. I mean, this doesn't help a transfer. So it doesn't help the team. It hurts Stephen Glass's ability to build an attack and to build some of that structure and to figure these things out, because you work all week long on one thing and then an injury happens the last day, or it doesn't feel right the last day. I don't know exactly what it was. And then you have to throw everything out that you worked on. It's really rough. It's not about the designated player designation. It's about your best players on the field, and that's what you need. And hopefully, and I don't know what the timeline will be with Marcelino Moreno, you've got to get him into the country. You've got to deal with the somewhere between 10 and 14-day window for MLS coronavirus protocols. You've got to get his visa sorted out. So those are all things you got to do. A couple things just so they're understood, because there's been some confusion here. The issues with visas that have been talked about in the national political discussion in recent months do not affect players coming in. It's not that form of visa that was being affected, so that's not a concern. Also, I don't think you're having as many people getting visas right now, so there's not as much of a backup. Hopefully you don't have the Mateo Sosetu type of situation where it was difficult to get it so he could come in. Hopefully that's not the case, but we don't know what that timeline is. So he would be one. He comes in, you're getting a very talented player, and he will help you. Ezequiel Barco staying healthy will help you. You're not going to get Joseph back. There's nothing you can do about that this season.
Jake Michaels, what has happened to this club? It's completely lost touch on field and off with fans. It may be dramatic, but how does Boca keep his job in all seriousness? How does this turn around? How many players need to be sold? So many questions and no sign of progress.
No sign of progress. Okay. Guys, like it or not, this was the third best team in Major League Soccer last year. Fact. Dispute it if you want. It's incorrect. It's fact. You won the Open Cup. You reached the conference final. That's a good season. Yes, it's not. This club wants to win MLS Cup every year. We all want that. You can't expect that every year. It's impossible. Can't happen. Okay. A lot of talk about the roster. Lots of talk about the roster. There's two things that are forgotten about this. One, there's a lot of revisionist history going on. A lot. And that's incredibly frustrating. But two, big picture here. In a salary cap league, you cannot keep the same team and just give guys raises and keep them here. You can't. It doesn't work. You can't do that. Why can't you do that? Because salary cap leagues where you have success is getting players who contribute in a big way on smaller cap numbers. Julian Gressel was one of those. That smaller cap number doesn't last forever. They got to get paid. Miles Robinson was one of those. People got to get paid. When you come in and you have a smaller deal and you perform, you're going to get paid. If everybody gets paid, you're over the cap. And you can't do that. So then what? You have to figure out how to make moves to deal with that. That's what it is. Like it or not. You were never going to be able to, and this is not about the wants from the players either. You were never going to be able to keep the roster from last year together going into perpetuity. It was impossible. No matter how you want to spin it, no matter if you want somebody to blame, that was impossible. It was also impossible because of 4 different situations. Darlington Nagbe wanted to go home, period. That came up in preseason. A deal was offered to him in the summer. He turned it down. He was going to play out his contract and leave. You can't do that. You can't be with the Houston Dynamo in this situation. You can't have a player like Albert Ellis and Darlington Nagbe in terms of impact. They're very different players on the field. But in terms of impact and importance, yes. Atlanta got more for Darlington Nagbe than Houston got for Albert Ellis when he went to Europe. Because you have to make the deal at the right time. He wasn't staying. I mean, the way the season has worked out, it would have been absolutely worthless to have him play his contract out here and then get nothing. Because you never know how the season's going to work out. You didn't know Joseph Martinez was going to have a knee injury in the second half of game number 1. You can't build a team expecting that. So, Darlington Nagbe, you make the trade, you get a good return. You try to re-sign Julian Gressel, you can't find the number. The number right now, based off the performance from him in D.C., he's not living up to that contract at the moment. Now, D.C.'s got their own issues, and there could very well be reasons why he's not living up to that number. But you couldn't just give him whatever number he wanted. You have a cap. You're stuck. You have to make decisions. You have to make hard decisions. You are able to go get Brooks Lennon on a smaller number, about half probably. Now, we don't know what he got in terms of a raise and when he signed a new deal, but it's not in the Gressel numbers. And on the field, Brooks Lennon's been more effective than Julian Gressel this season. There's just no way around it. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez. There's been a lot of speculation that Frank de Boer wanted him gone. Go back and listen to the comments from LGP on Argentine television late last year. He didn't sound like somebody who was wanting to go. He didn't sound like somebody who was unhappy. He was very happy. He talked very glowingly about MLS. People say that Frank wanted him to go. I'm just going to go back to what Carlos Bocanegra said in the press conference after that transfer went down. Carlos said that LGP's representation said that if there was an opportunity for him to make more money elsewhere, he would consider it. He had options here, at least an option for next season, or for 2020. I think he had one more. That part's not always clear. You weren't in the same risk that you were with Nagbe going into the last year of the deal, or with Gressel going into the last year of the deal. Tijuana came with an offer, and he wanted to take it, and he did. Now, things blew up in Tijuana, and he ends up in Miami, which is craziness, and there's nothing to do with you on that. There's nothing you could see about that. I don't know what his contract will be in Miami ultimately. We'll have to wait and see. But there's nothing you can do. If he wants to go at that point, what does it benefit you to keep them? And for an example, look at the beginning of Tottenham's season last year, where you kept guys going into the last year of their deal. You hoped that you would be able to re-sign all of them, I think. You re-signed one, Toby Alderweireld?
Yep.
You lost Vertonghen at the end of the season. Eriksson became an issue, and you had to sell him. Now, you did, and you were able to pull off the coup of all coups in that one to get $20 million from Inter, which is mind-blowing going into the last 6 months of the deal. You got that. That's incredible. But what did it do the first half of the season? The team was unsettled. It cost Mauricio Pochettino his job. The team was completely unsettled. You have to balance these things. It's not easy, but you can't just keep a team together because you like guys. That's impossible. Now, Lennon, for me, upgrade on Gressel, especially in terms of the contract situation. And in a cap league, you got to factor that in. No question to me. Nagbe's a tough player to replace, period. You brought in Emerson Hyndman last year. Now, you can argue about Emerson Hyndman's contract, as has been reported. I don't think that number has been made official because nothing's been published by the Players Association this year about salaries. As been reported, it's high six figures. He hasn't been delivering consistently enough. He started the season really, really well. I will also remind you, and this is not information that's out of school or anything, because he said it in a media availability in Orlando. He tested positive for COVID-19 at one point. I don't know if that's affecting him. I don't know if it's had any physical effects. He has not been as effective in the second half of the year as he was in the first half, period. He hasn't. He was very good early this season. Very, very good. Mateo Sosetu is showing his quality as an 8, not as a 10, as he was playing in this role, because you didn't have a 10. He was playing as an 8. I think he's showing his quality. Is he Darlington Nagbe? Not yet. Can he be? Maybe, potentially. But you brought those two guys in to play that role. Have they been as effective as Darlington Nagbe? Does Darlington Nagbe fix this team right now? I don't think so. And that's not a knock on Nagbe. It doesn't dramatically change, because that's not the game he has. He's a different kind of player. I don't think that's the issue as much. Tito Villalba is the last one. Villalba wanted guaranteed playing time. He wasn't going to get that. The team was playing a 3-4-3 at the beginning of the season. He was not going to play as a wingback. That did not go well at Yankee Stadium last year. He was not really effective last year at all in general. There's been some talk that he's been incredibly effective in Paraguay, and look, I'm sorry, that's just not the case. He's got 2 goals and 3 assists, and he's playing about half of the games, a little over 1,000 minutes in general. He started, I think, 3 of the last 6 or 7 games. It's about the same type of rate of success that he had here. He's getting a goal or an assist every 200-plus minutes. That's not going to get him into the starting lineup. Now, again, if you could see into the future, and you knew that Joseph Martinez was going to have a knee injury, well, we're having a different conversation. But if you've got that magic 8 ball, please share it with me so I can go get some lottery tickets. It's just how it is. So those are the things you did. Now, if you want to get into that one, that was the last one. That was the latest one. I think you added Manuel Castro when you could on loan, which was a no major risk situation. He hasn't delivered. I hoped that he would deliver in this match on Saturday. He didn't. And you went out and got Jurgen Damm, which is a good addition. He's not going to come good until next year. This hamstring, I think, really made it difficult for that to happen this year. Maybe at the end of the season, I don't know. But we were starting to see it before he was injured. He has to get to 100%, and that's probably going to be next year. I think that is an upgrade. Now, it's not an upgrade in 2020, but I think it's an upgrade in 2021 and beyond. That's where you're at. The off-the-field stuff, I'm sure we've got more questions and comments about that, and we'll get into it here shortly, but that was a little bit longer than I thought it would be.
Katie Weaver, after the match, she goes, Gallagher was good. John played well, more involved in the build-up, and lowered the shoulder on LGP a couple times, so there are some okay things.
Adam John has given you what you expected out of Adam John. He was brought in to be a different kind of number 9 for this team when they needed it. He's had to play in more minutes than I think was expected. He works very, very hard. Is he going to be a double-digit goal scorer in this league? I don't think so, but he can be a player that is effective for you. And it was his pressure on Robles that created the goal. His pressure on Robles forced the turnover, played over to Lorenowitz off of Mulroney. Lorenowitz swings it over to Bello, great cross, Gallagher scores. That all started with Adam John pressuring. He's physical. You need that at times. This team is not very physical. You need somebody like Adam John to knock people around at times. I thought he played well. He's very different than Joseph Martinez. You're not going to play the same way with Adam John that you played with Joseph Martinez. You've got to find ways to get more out of him. But I have not had a problem with Adam John.
David at Not Baby Fark MCG says, I bet if we had signed to BWP this offseason, we would be doing pretty well.
That's a different one. I don't know if he would have taken the contract, though. And that's the thing. And that's where, there's criticism of the front office with hypotheticals. And David's not criticizing the front office and saying that. Other people are. It's a hypothetical. Would he have signed? Would you sign if you're Bradley Wright Phillips and you think you're a starting player in this league and Joseph Martinez is the starter at that team? No. You're not signing that contract. Because why would you? You're only going to see garbage time minutes. You're not signing that. You're going to go somewhere where you think you can win the job. Now, things ended up working out for him to where he got the job by default, but that wasn't a risk on his part going to LAFC. He expected to get playing time there. He would not have gotten playing time with a healthy Joseph Martinez here. And again, crystal ball. If you knew he was going to be injured, then it's a different conversation. And it would have been a different conversation on BWP's side, too. Because if he knows that's happening, well, then you're getting that playing time. But listen to the comments that Bradley Wright Phillips has made all season. He thinks he's a starter in this league. He would not have signed here to be a reserve behind the best striker in the league. He wouldn't have. He wouldn't have taken that deal. Sorry. It'd have been nice. But that's what's hard about a salary cap league as well. You don't get to just spend whatever you want and say, okay, well, we really want you here. We know you want more playing time somewhere. We can't guarantee you that. We have this guy, number 7, who's pretty good. But we're going to pay you really well to be our reserve. Well, no, you can't. That's what happens. It's tough. It's very tough, but I don't think he would have signed here. I don't think there's any way he would have signed that contract. He wanted to play. There was no guarantee of that here.
Chris Hutchison, the fullback, he really wanted to see someone put a heavy hit on Figal. If the refs won't discipline him, some peer pressure might send the proper message.
Yeah, you always run the risk of getting red carded yourself when you do that. I'm still blown away. I'm blown away by the fact that they waited until right before the game, Pro, to release the video going back and looking at that week's games. And all they talked about was the encroachment side of it. I think that's a cop-out. I think Pro to not say that should have been a red card because, if I remember right, Doug Robertson reached out to try to get comment out of Howard Webb, and they would not comment on it. That's not happened very often.
Yeah.
For Pro to completely stick their head in the sand on this one in an issue of player safety, I'm sorry. I have a massive issue with it. Because what did you see in Montreal, Philadelphia last night? Romel Kyoto swing his arm back, smack somebody in the head. Wasn't a penalty. It was on the middle of the field. It was given a yellow. VAR intervened. It was bumped up to a red. So it should have happened in this case. And for Pro and the disciplinary committee to both ignore it, because Pro's ignored it. They've said nothing about it. They've ignored it. The disciplinary committee did not rule on it, so I'm going to assume that they ignored it. If they didn't ignore it and they tried to rule on it and they didn't get a unanimous vote, then some people on that disciplinary committee are not doing their jobs. That was an embarrassing situation. It will remain embarrassing. There's no place for that in the game. No place for that at all. And Figal should have been suspended for multiple games, let alone not seeing a red card in that one. He should have got a minimum of a 2-game suspension. Let's see what Kyoto gets. Let's see what Kyoto gets in terms of a suspension if he gets an extra game added to it because of that. If he does, there's no consistency, and it's an embarrassing situation for Pro and the disciplinary committee.
Ben 05AU, War Eagle. Darren Eales sold off talented players like stock and replaced them with unproven discount rack players with no stats in their respective leagues. There is no leadership. There is no experience. They are adrift.
Why would you do that? Like, why? What's the benefit? Because you don't just do things because you're an evil genius. Like, why would you sell off players like their stock? There's not an answer to that. Because it makes no sense. Because you didn't do that. Players with no stats in their leagues. What players are we talking about here? Brooks Lennon? No. Mateo Sosetu? No. Fernando Meza? No. I got nothing. I have no problem if you want to criticize moves that are made. Please do. But please come with real information, because there's nothing there. You don't sell off players like they're stock because there's no benefit. You sell off stock, what's the benefit? You're trying to make money, right?
Yep.
You didn't make money here. You got allocation money for Nagbe and for Gressel. Don't know what you got from the LGP situation. You know you got something because if I remember right, and I'll have to double check if he went through the allocation order or not. If he did, and I think he did, then you would have had to have gotten, I think, over $500,000. Okay, and that doesn't really result in a whole lot either. And you immediately got Meza, so that I don't think you pocketed anything. The Pity Martinez one has just happened. And you've already got somebody reportedly on their way to the country the next couple of days. Because no, you did not expect to get $18 million for Pity Martinez. Not the way you did, not when you did. But you did the right thing by making the move when it happened. You did. Because you're not getting that offer again, probably. And the player got a huge amount of money in the deal. His salary went up exponentially. You would have failed him. You would have failed his agent. You would have failed everybody if you had said no to that deal when it came up. So I'm sorry. The idea of he just sold everybody's favorite players because he wanted to. There's nothing there, guys. There's nothing there. You cannot keep a team together in perpetuity in a salary cap league for two reasons. You keep them together for too long, you can't move them on, you're stuck, and they diminish. Two, when players outperform contracts, they need more money. You don't have an unlimited bucket of money. That's it. Don't like it. It stinks. It's hard. It makes things very, very difficult. Teams that are not in salary cap leagues find these things very, very difficult with managing finances. In a cap league, it's even harder. Nobody sold anybody like stock. And no, the players that were brought in did not have zero stats in their other leagues. That's just not true at all.
Josh Duckworth, no reason to rush hiring a manager, not because we don't need him ASAP, because we do, but because the front office cannot afford to get this hire wrong. I'm willing to wait if it means getting the right guy.
Yeah, you don't rush to just hire somebody because he's available. You get the right guy. And if that right guy is available in the next 2 weeks, great. If they're available in the next month, great. If they're available in December, great. You do have to get it right because it's a vital hire, because it's an important hire in any club. You need to get it right. You don't just take the first one available right now. Not with the way the season is, because that does factor in, you know? I mean, if this was a normal season, maybe we're having a different conversation. If they're 1 or 2 in the Eastern Conference, well, then you probably wouldn't have the opening. But, yeah, we're having a different conversation. Where the season is, it's a challenge because you're missing Joseph, period. It's always going to be a challenge. A new manager doesn't come in and immediately fix everything with their first match. It doesn't happen. So get the hire right, take your time, and get it right, and get it done as quickly as you can. But you don't just take somebody because they're available just because you need somebody right now. No, you got to get it right. That's absolutely true.
Alex Votz, what's the record for most losses to expansion teams in a single season?
No idea. Don't really care, to be perfectly honest, because this year's expansion crop is the best one the league's ever had. Nashville and Miami are not built like your Cincinnati's or your Minnesotas or Orlando year one. Miami will be very different with Gonzalo Higuain. And this is, again, a year like no other. So I don't really care, to be honest, but I don't know what that record is. Coming in as an expansion team, it's different now than it used to be. I mean, you go back and look at like RSL and Chivas when they came in 2005. I'll forget it. They had no chance. No chance. Toronto, when they came in, no chance. Just the way the league was structured and bringing these teams in, they had no chance. Well, now when owners are paying as much money as they are to come into this league, they want a chance. They don't want to be. They don't want to have to do what Minnesota said, like, oh, it's going to take us 3 years to be competitive. Not with the finances on the line now. So they want all that allocation money. They want all those opportunities to build a team straight out of the gate. So it's different now than it used to be. So you're not comparing apples to apples. We'll see how it shakes out this season with Miami and Nashville. Nashville with Cadiz could be better up top. They should be better up top because they haven't really produced a whole lot there. And I felt like they've been building pretty well. Miami, now that they've got their number 9 and they got Matuidi in the mix, we'll see. It should be better. We'll see if it makes them better. I'm still wondering how Higuain fits, but Miami's adjusted pretty well out of trying to be a high-pressing team early on that didn't really suit them then because their defense is not good enough, in my opinion, to play that way. It would not have suited them with Gonzalo Higuain. So things have worked in the right direction for them and Diego Alonso. Higuain can fit into that team playing in the way that Miami's playing right now.
Turner Kirby. Direction of ire from Atlanta United fans, March 2019 to July 2020, FDB and PT. July through September, the front office. September, the social media team and Franco Escobar? ? But seriously, I don't know how Franco's quote is getting twisted to mean if you criticize the team at all, then you aren't a real fan. The reaction to that quote among the fan base has been kind of shameful, in my opinion, for a quote that should have been unifying for us to get behind the team.
This whole situation has been completely and utterly taken out of what it was. I'm pulling up the tweet from Franco Escobar, so I make sure that I am reading it exactly. I have the sign, but I'm going to make sure the tweet was not taken out of context. I'm going to read it to you, and this is in English. If in bad times you leave, in good times we don't need you. You leave. Am I missing something in the thesaurus about leave being the same as criticize? I don't think so. What he's saying is responding to things I've seen on social media, and don't stick your head in the sand. Everybody's seen it. And is it probably more casual fans? Yeah, it probably is. Because I see it about the Falcons. I see it about the Hawks. I see it about the Braves. If in bad times you leave, and that is people saying, I'm not watching this team anymore. I'm not spending my time watching this team anymore. They're not playing well. Okay. We don't need you. That's what Franco Escobar said. He did not say a word about don't criticize. The team did not say anything like that. The team said nothing like that. The team's tweet, let me see if I can find that one, because the banner was made by a supporters group. Resurgence made the banner with Franco Escobar's tweet, the words on there. And I am scrolling back. Let's see if I can track it down. No one said it would be easy. True 17s, we see you. Where is this idea that a lot of people have run with and a lot of people have tried to make a narrative out of? Where is it that they are saying, either Franco or the team from the social media account, that you can't criticize them? Tell me if I'm missing it. Because I think people are trying to read between the lines. I think people are telling on themselves, to be perfectly honest. Because nothing about true 17s is saying don't criticize. What are 17s? Atlanta United fans, supporters, period. I don't know if we completely get credit for coming up with that term, but we started saying it at the very beginning of the 2017 season because they pulled number 17 for the fans because it was year 17. It was when the team was starting. I think that might have actually started here. But what are 17s? Atlanta United fans. True fans, we see you. Okay, you want to let's go from the pictures. Let's see. We got a big footy mob banner. It says never scared. Got supporters putting the banners up in the stadium. Another one putting the banners up in the stadium. And the one of Franco Escobar's tweet. That was made by supporters. That, again, says nothing about not being able to criticize. Zero. I'm sorry, it's not there. True supporters, true fans of this team, we see you. Go ahead and tell me I'm wrong, and go ahead and subtweet me, and go ahead and do whatever you want about it. I think people are trying to make something out of this that's not there, and it's incredibly frustrating. And the attacks on the social media team, everybody loved it when the team was winning. Nothing's really changed, y'all. Losing teams, and right now Atlanta United is a losing team because they are losing games. Losing teams have a challenge in making their fans happy. Why? Because they are not winning. People take that out on things that they used to like about the team. In this case, the social media, the digital department, all of that. People are attacking them in a very shameful way, in my opinion, because of the results on the field. And they don't control the results on the field. This has been taken so far out of context and been stretched so far to make something out of it. It's very sad to see. Because Franco said nothing about you can't criticize the team. He said, we need your support. He said, we need you here. And you can't literally be there, but you can be there in spirit. That's what he said. He didn't say you can't criticize. The team said nothing about that. True 17s. Again, 17s. Because people have now tried to make this a hashtag and make something out of it. True supporters, true fans of this team, we see you. And there's a problem with that because people are trying to make a storyline out of this, and it's very sad. And go ahead, say what you want. That's fine. You want to bring me into it? You want to attack me too? Go ahead. That's fine. The team's not playing well, and it wears on everybody. It wears on everybody. It wears on me. It wears on Mike. It wears on everybody who is in a team shirt in the stadium on the day. Players, staff, off the field staff. It is draining. Stop attacking people who have nothing to do with the results. And stop trying to create narratives. It's very frustrating. But if I'm part of that now, cool, go ahead.
One more on that topic, and then that'll end the post-game tweets, and then we can get into stuff from this morning after we thank somebody. Michael Bucklew came in and said, it's 3 hours later, I'm still confused about the butt hurt from so many people about True 17s. I saw that post and thought it was saying the people setting up banners were True 17s, but apparently every fan took that like some personal insult. Some people should chill.
I don't know why it became an insult. I really, really don't. But I don't know. I'm in a different place from that. I mean, obviously, because I'm in the booth calling games. I am a fan of this team because I'm watching everything they do, and I'm supportive of it, absolutely. But I just don't see how that is taken as you can't criticize the team. There's nothing in there about it. There's nothing in any of the messaging. Franco's tweet, the banner, the Atlanta United tweet. There's nothing in there saying you can't criticize the team. Zero. So why did that become the story? You tell me. You tell me, because I don't know. Let's get into thanking a good friend of ours who has been very supportive of all that we do. Our good friend Steve Apolinsky over in Decatur, GA.
Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything SDH and the SDH network. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for clients in Georgia and Alabama for wrongful death and serious injury suits. If this is a conversation that you need to have, you can have it with Steve a couple different ways. You can go to Apolinsky & Associates over the phone, 404-377-9191. You can have a free consultation done that way. Or what you can do is shoot Steve an email, steve@aa-legal.com, or go to the website, aa-legal.com. Hit enter, hit whatever advanced key you have on whatever device you're going to use. You can have a conversation with someone who's at the other end of a pop-up window, and you can do that 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Couple different ways to catch up with Apolinski and Associates LLC, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia for wrongful death and serious injury matters. Couple different ways to talk to them, but the website to catch up with Apolinski and Associates LLC is aa-legal.com.
I think you timed that one perfectly.
That was close.
That's pretty good.
It was close.
I think you nailed it.
I have my moments on Mondays.
Yeah, it's true. Did you get the extra Mountain Dew this morning, or what? What led to that?
What, the perfect timing?
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you want to know about the extra Mountain Dew,
I do.
go.
Whoa!
For those watching on Twitch.
Good grief!
I opened up 2 separate containers, not knowing that the other one was open, and then when I come back here to the seat in Office HD, I realized that I've already opened another container. So I'm dealing with stereo containers of Mountain Dew this morning, finishing up the Diet Dr. Pepper that is in the cup.
Oh, so you haven't even gotten into the Mountain Dew yet?
No, I have not. So it is all in the pacing this morning. I imagine that hour number 2 will need to go a little rapid fire, and that's why the Mountain Dew is in various forms this morning. So it does exist. It's just I opened up more than I thought I had.
I still don't understand, and I know that you're not the only one who does this. There are quite a few people. I don't understand not keeping the soda in the fridge. That's never made sense to me.
Well, no, for me, it is strictly something that I learned from being an on-air talent, is that if you drink something cold, it constricts your vocal cords, and you don't have the range or the length of time that you normally could have. You couldn't speak as long, basically, and you couldn't speak with the force that's normally associated with it. So for me, drinking something room temperature, I'm not constricting my vocal cords. It is strictly a vocal thing. I
have never found that to be the case. I'm quite verbose, so I like to talk at times.
Yes.
Never had that issue. Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard that.
It was literally, it was something that I heard, and knowing me, it could be an absolute wives' tale. But
I'm kind of wondering.
But no, that's just, they said that the reason that you're supposed to drink warm liquids before going on the air is to keep your vocal cords open. They don't constrict.
I will have to, now that we're getting into the cooler weather, I will have to try the tea before a game and see if I notice a difference. I mean, I've done it plenty of times before, and it's never been noticeable. All right, we're going to get into the Twitch pitch for just a bit and try to catch up, because people have been talking all the time during the show, and we appreciate it. And thanks for allowing, to try to catch up with everybody, because that's what these shows turn into. And we'll get into some other topics, not just Atlanta United here before we wrap up as well. But, right now it does kind of turn into, I don't know, a venting session. That's what it feels like at times.
Venting down here?
I guess. Turner Kirby said that I sounded like this.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I guess. I'm a little bit older than 40, but I'll take it. I don't know. That was just frustrating to me, and I don't get how that got misconstrued and twisted into something that it wasn't. Alex Bassine has a theory on it. People thought it was a subtweet directed at them because they are constantly subtweeting others. The outrage is a mirror. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's a really deep thought here on a Monday morning. I don't know if I'm ready for that, Piscine.
Deep thoughts with Piscine.
I don't know if it's wrong, but wow.
No.
Abby said, so when do we get injury update and let's guess on upcoming games against new teams? Today at 1 o'clock, Stephen Glass and George Bello will be speaking to the media. We'll get an injury update as of today. Ezekiel Barco is the question. I know in the post game it was hoped that he would be able to play on Wednesday. Don't know if we've got any more information or not on that, but today at 1 would be probably the first opportunity for that. And probably the last opportunity, because you're not going to get anything out tomorrow, I don't think, and then you're going to go into the game and wait for the lineup. Managers don't want to give people information. That needs to be understood.
No.
Managers don't want to give it. Teams don't want to give it because they want to protect any advantage they might have or anything they can keep from the opponent they want to. So keep that in mind with some of this. There's a lot of demand for all this information, and teams never want to give any information. It's just they don't want to, and I understand it. Wow, Chara says, people who call themselves True 17 seem all right, considering what I just laid out. I mean, I haven't seen any kind of thing within the fan base of people saying, I'm a true 17, you're not a true. I haven't seen that, so I don't think it's playing off any of that. If I missed it, I missed it. Just literally the term. I seriously think we were the first ones who came up with it.
I think so, yeah.
Because if I remember right, you said it when we were talking off air one time, because you said some team did that. And I don't remember where you got it from, that some team called their fans like a number like that based off the year that they started or something.
Yeah, gosh, I can't remember, because then I also remember the follow-up, because we had the discussion, do we call them 18?
Yeah, no, and I argued against that.
Yeah, you did. I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember who called their team specific attached to the numbers because of the year that the team it was like an originating year for the team, and it was associated with that particular group. And I think that I can't remember what team that was.
If I remember, and I might be wrong in this because this was a long time ago. If I remember right, you said it when we were talking after they made the idea about not using the number 17 and dedicating that to the fans. You said something about a team who's done this, and maybe that's what Atlanta United fans end up getting called. And then I started saying it and started using it, and it stuck. And then it started to spread. I think that's the way I remember it.
Yeah,
I'm sure others were using it around the same time too. With most of these things, it's like, a lot of people came up with the same idea probably at once. But I know that was my thought process behind it. So. Just saying true 17s is just saying true Atlanta United fans. Like, that's it. And it wasn't saying how you're a true fan. It was just saying true fans, we see you. That's it. I didn't even think it was a subtweet. Like, I just think it was what it was. I mean, it was a picture of fans. It's a picture of supporters who came into the building on Friday to put banners up after putting all the time in to make the banners because they can't be there on the game day. They sacrificed their time. They're true fans. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not cynical enough for it, but I don't know. Ragamuffin was excited about your hashtag pop-up windows.
Well, that's what they are. I mean, seriously, it's what a pop-up window does. It pops up. Therefore, it's a pop-up window.
It is. Mrs. Claus lucked out by staying away from Twitter this weekend. Missed all the mess, the true fan mess. That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Walchara, thank you for hanging out, and I think you are a true 17, and I mean that in a good way. And you are a newer fan, if I remember correctly, as well. And I'm glad you found us, and I'm glad that you enjoy hanging out with us and with all the other listeners in the Twitch pitch. That's how this stuff grows to me. Let's see. Soccer for Good OG takes it to another level, saying that the True 17 furor relates to one of the banners being hung up by a supporters group who's been accused of gatekeeping on how to fan properly. I haven't seen that angle to it at all. I've seen the attacks on the team messaging about it. If that's below the surface, I haven't seen it. Supporters groups in general are really passionate and try to lead the way. And yeah, at sometimes it can get to where it's like talking to fans saying this is how you do it. I think that's been minimal here, to be perfectly honest. I don't think it's been a major aspect of it. But I'm not in on all that politics, so I don't know. But that's not unique to Atlanta either in terms of supporters group stuff. But I haven't seen that angle from this at all. I haven't. Clayton Poss, social media can be a pit of bad takes and angry people. You ain't lying. Mm-hmm. It happens. It can also be a great place to meet people and to learn things and to share information. And that's what stinks when it turns into a pit of the. Because, I mean, I will absolutely say this, and I say it to young people, whether they're in high school or college, when I speak to people who want to do things like what I'm doing. Social media can be a valuable tool if you use it correctly. It is a megaphone. It is going back to the old days when you didn't have it, when you would have a placard on the street, or you would tell everybody in your office or in your school or in the cafeteria in high school what you wanted to tell them, it allows you to do that. It's all about how you use it, because it doesn't mean everybody listens to you, and it doesn't mean you do it effectively either. It is a megaphone. That's it. That's what it is. It's been very valuable for me. I mean, I've learned a lot from it. I continue to. I always will, because I curate my feed. I manage it. I try to eliminate stuff that is just negative for negative sake. Doesn't mean I eliminate criticism, don't get me wrong. I eliminate stuff that is just constantly cynical and negative. I look out for stuff from Latin America. I look out for stuff on coaching. I look out for information from around the world on the game, because I'm always trying to learn more. So it can be very valuable, but yeah, you have to manage it. You absolutely have to. Okay. Let's see what else we got as I skim through and try to get caught up. Shiva says, remember, guys, Atlanta United has a large fan base, probably more than any other team in MLS. That is why there is so much going. I don't think we would have this going on if we did not have 1 million Twitter followers. Yeah, not even the Twitter followers, Shiva, but I mean, it is a large fan base. I think you're right, just because of the season ticket numbers, just because of the attendances that we've seen, just because of a little bit of the regional nature of it as well. Like, it is a huge fan base. So when you have a huge fan base, you have a lot of voices. And when you have a lot of voices, when things aren't going well, you have a lot of loud, angry voices. And that's accurate. And that happens in college football. It happens in any sport. Happens with any team around the world. I mean, if Boca started playing poorly in Argentina, people are going to be talking about it. You know, like, this stuff happens. Chelsea fans probably not very happy from the weekend.
Oof.
You know, just saying. It happens. It's just part of it. But yeah, it's a huge fan base, and I think it is a little different in American soccer because it's a bigger fan base than the rest. That's true. Katie said, if you drink all that Mountain Dew, you're going to run through a wall in a minute.
Actually, I developed, and since this is the smaller container, this is where I'm going.
That's like the 1 liter.
Katie's timing is impeccable.
That's like the 1 liter or the 1.25 liter. I think Pepsi does it as a 1.25.
Yeah, this was probably one of the better marketing ideas, other than the cold 20 ounce that they overprice.
Oh yeah, those are evil.
This is probably one of the better marketing ideas that they've had, because it's not quite as big as a 2 liter, and you're paying a little more than half price, or even sometimes more, just for this 1 liter that you can hold in your hand.
Usually $1.
Yeah, and these are $1, and you're sometimes the 2 liters are $1, sometimes they're upwards of $1.75. So this is either an incredible marketing ploy or just part of the revenue ladder for whatever company puts it out. I
get the Coke and Dr. Pepper. Those are the two that I generally alternate between. The 1 liters, because they don't go flat. I don't drink a ton of them, but they don't go flat. The 2 liters will go flat, so I don't drink them fast enough.
That they do.
Bartimus Prime says, I learned so much about the mechanics and science of the mouth and vocal cords from John. I appreciate it for when I have to be on air during the week. And Katie Weaver backs you up, too. I've never had that issue.
It's like I said, it is something with on air and singing, and singers specifically. Singers will, whether it's for a performance or a play or a concert or whatever, you'll see them drinking warmer liquids than the colder liquids.
Yeah, cool. I've never had that issue with me, but now I'm going to have to keep trying it.
Yeah, especially in colder weather. You are correct.
Piscine wants to call it group therapy. Not going to argue that one at all.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought that this was.
Yeah, that's what it turns into. That's for sure. Ricky Ricardo, room temperature Mountain Dew ain't it. Vocal cords be damned. I'm not going to argue with him either. I kind of agree with that.
Well, just something that I've just gotten used to over the years.
Question from Jason Nix. What is a knock? Talking about the injury, and a lot of people have chimed in. Just a small injury of any kind.
It's like what is it? A niggle? Is that the other one that they say in Britain?
Yeah, that might be a Premier League thing or a Championship thing. I don't know. A knock is a minor injury, and usually, but not always. Usually, it's some form of a contact injury. Yeah. It's not like a ligament or something. It's like a contact thing. But I mean, it can just be used for any kind of little injury. So that's it, and it's a common expression in the game, and yeah, it can be. I don't know if lower body injury or knock is better or worse. I have no idea.
It depends on if you're in a playoff format or not, and you really don't want to tell anybody what's going on.
Yeah. Katie Weaver is very, very excited. Come on, you Spurs. Just throwing that in. Harry Kane, assist machine, such vision. It's beautiful. He was awesome.
Biggest question is, did Katie Weaver have Son and Kane in her fantasy team?
I hope so, because good grief.
I had Danny Ings in mine.
Okay.
Because he had the 2 for Southampton.
Yeah, but that's not as good as 4 assists and 4 goals.
That'd be a no.
That would be no, not as good. And it's only going to get better. I guess the question that I have, and it's starting to pop up, and now destinations are being rumored, Dele Alli. Mm-hmm. With Gareth Bale coming in. First off, that attack with Kane, Sonny, and Bale, good grief. But where does Dele Alli go? Because he ain't playing. PSG's come up. Juventus has been mentioned at one point. Man. Mm-hmm. I mean, All or Nothing kind of set it up where it's like, look, you're going to end up disappointed in yourself if you don't get more out of this time. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't. So, I mean, Jose pretty much laid it out, and if he can go get better players, he's going to go get better players. And Gareth Bale should be a better player.
Yep.
So, they get it done. There's been some rumors about them trying to go get Jesse Lingard as well, but that's been shot down a little bit too, so I don't know where that stands. Tottenham has went nuts, and I did not know if when Jose came in, if they would go out and spend like they have, and they haven't spent stupid money.
Yeah.
But they've upgraded, and they've spent, and now, you've got questions in England about what this top half of the league looks like, because Tottenham has to move up, in the ladder, I think. Manchester United, for some mind-blowingly dumb reason, keeps trying to talk about Jadon Sancho, which isn't happening. Dortmund's made that clear, and they keep saying, like, Ornstein with The Athletic said that, Manchester United's still stuck on getting him. Dortmund's made it pretty clear, like, he ain't going anywhere. And you need a center back. You need a center back more than you need another wide attacking player. Lindelof? Come on. You need a center back if you're going to be there, because...
Oh, that was a long day.
But here's the thing. I mean, you got to look at what's going on around you. You look at what Chelsea's done, and they had a stupid red card. And VAR got that 100% right.
Yes.
It was tough for, I think, the referee to judge it in real time, because it's a ball over the top. I mean, it's good timing, because Teise was just showing it, and the referee was in the other half. So he had no way to see the arms completely around him. But that's where VAR comes in, and he went to the monitor, and it was quick, and it was good, and it was handled correctly. It was idiotic, complete waste of time, and it made things completely, almost impossible for Chelsea. I say almost because they did have a penalty, and then Kepa. Oof.
Oh, God.
But this is the thing. If you are going to play out of the back, if you are going to build up out of the back, you know that you're running that risk, and you can't be scared. Mm-hmm. Now, the question is, Frank Lampard, because he's still a young manager, do the tactics change to avoid that situation? They shouldn't, because you have to do those things to draw the opponent out. You have to do those things to create the space for your attackers, but you can't give up those goals on a regular basis. If it becomes a trend, you got a problem. But Chelsea, talent, Liverpool, Manchester City, obviously, and it sounds like City's about to start getting involved and cutting some checks. So those two are up there. Chelsea's up there in talent. Tottenham, do they come next? Maybe. Possibly. I mean, when you look at these additions, possibly. Manchester United, Tottenham. It's hard to say that Spurs isn't right there. And then you do have to look at a little club in Liverpool that wears blue called Everton. I would not be surprised if they are a team that is hanging around in that vicinity. So it's going to be interesting with the additions, because there's still time. There's still a good bit of time for more moves to be made, about 2 weeks. So it's going to start to get really wacky. Let's see. Soccer for Good OG wants you to admit that you're a Euro snob because you drink warm soda.
How does one relate to the other?
You don't know that the Europeans don't put ice in their drinks?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, you must have missed that. That's accurate. That's absolutely true.
Okay. I did not know that they don't put ice in their drinks.
Nope.
I did not know that.
No, I don't think it has to do with their
That's
local
weird,
board
wild stuff. I did not know that.
Oh, jeez. Mazzano says, would Minnesota United fans be 17s as well? Could get confusing. Haha. They didn't claim it. So, no, they are not, because they did not claim it. They also didn't pull the number 17 from issuing it to a player either, so that added to it. Ricky says they didn't claim it. Ricky, I mean, it was a playoff of the 12s in Seattle, even though theirs is based off 12th man. That wasn't where John mentioned it, because I didn't come up with the idea. I think I just started saying it. John mentioned it based off some team that did it based off the year they were founded.
Yeah. See,
and that was where,
down that.
Yeah, you're going to have to try to find it. You're going to have flashbacks to 4 years ago.
Well, actually, I could probably find that show.
Yeah,
I
good luck.
No idea what
I don't know where we
but I had the
using
2017 shows buried someplace.
Yeah, I don't know where we started using it, so don't waste your time with that. It had nothing to do with the 12s in Seattle. It did not, actually. I know that, at least in our mind, it didn't. I don't know if for anybody else it did. For us, it didn't. Abby says, most countries don't drink cold drinks. They look at you like you're crazy when you ask for ice. Man. Mazzano says 18s are the fans who showed up after the MLS Cup win. That's okay. They can backdate. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with new fans coming on at all. But this whole True 17s thing, man, it's just got so been out of shape. You want new fans, and they could have been 19s, as Abby points out. Yeah. So you don't have to claim your number. We don't have to do that. It's just 17s, just because that's when the team started.
Yeah.
Let's see here as we keep going. Turner says there was an article on DSS saying the tweet from the Atlanta United Twitter saying our legacy will prevail was part of mixed messaging from the team. I don't know. I guess because it's hard to define why the team is not playing well on the field, now we're trying to define social media strategies. Next time, do those things when the team is playing well as well. Give them credit. Don't just crack on the social media team because the team's not playing well. You know, I've seen. Well, they need to own it, or they need to talk about why they're not playing well, or they need to talk about not playing well. But then they posted the tweet after the game, and people said, "Oh, you can't do that. That's Bush League." Well, nobody's going to be happy with anything that's coming from the team right now because the team's not playing well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. Nobody's going to be giving out awards for social media or anything with the team right now because they're not playing well.
That was a great tweet in a loss. No.
But you do that when they're winning.
Yeah.
So stop beating people up because that's what it is. Because there are people who do that. It's not a robot.
Yeah.
There are people who do it. And it's just, it's gotten very sad, to be honest. To be perfectly honest, because you're taking things out on people that have nothing to do with it. So, and now you're turning this into an even bigger thing. It's a real shame. It's a real shame. And I feel like there's a lot of grasping at straws right now. Ragamuffin wants to talk about something happy, like Santa Claus. Santa United's not here, but I think Mrs. Claus is still hanging out.
Yeah, Mrs. Claus is here.
I think still hanging out. Or how to field an onside kick. Don't let it roll 10 yards and just sit there. Like I was screaming. Get on the ball.
That's a great curling shot, by the way. It was fantastic with the English that had on it.
Absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Pacine, I'm with you. I've met several wonderful people on Twitter, Atlanta United Twitter, actually, and a lot of you guys listen to the show. I've loved it, but yeah, you have to manage it. You absolutely have to manage it. Soccer for Good OG about cold drinks. Ice and refrigeration is what makes us great.
Not in dispute.
I'm not arguing it.
No.
I am not arguing it. Yes, Abby. One day we will all be able to have a real life Twitch pitch hangout. That will happen. I promise at some point. Hopefully soon. Jeez. Let's see what else we got. Lots of love for Santa United, as there should be.
Mm-hmm.
Warm Mountain Dew toasts when we all get to hang out. No, I will not partake.
No.
I will be skipping
Just
that
settle
one.
for Mountain Dew toasts and mate toasts and things like that.
We might have saltwater rinses in honor of John. Yes, that could happen. Sean thinks you have Mountain Dew colored blood.
I would have said that a year ago.
Yeah, I would have said that a year ago too.
But not as much anymore. It's probably more Diet Dr. Pepper colored blood now than anything.
So it's more of like a darker red, not the green that it would have been before.
Yeah. I mean, and when you're already down at least 10 pounds, I guess the physician's assistant was right about something.
Sean Vergara is accurate. Soccer Down Here, sponsored by every high-sugar drink. That is true.
Damn right.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Sugar's Down Here. Yes, that is true.
Yes.
Sean Vergara with an Atlanta United topic. We need to sell Barco. Agree or disagree? The general statement, we need to sell Barco. Agree? Yes, I do agree. Because he's going to want that, and you want to bring in the revenue, and then you can parlay that into another move. This is the thing that I think people are missing in all of this. The whole idea, and the Miguel Almiron transfer is a big part of this. Okay, so you bring him in for $9 million, and you sell him for, what was the final number, 24? Or am I missing, or is it 27?
27.
27. Okay, so you sell him for that. The way this works from an MLS perspective, first you get your money back. You get your money that you spent on the transfer to bring them in. You get your salary back. So you recoup everything you spent on that player. That's pretty cool. Then there is a cut that goes to the league. Okay, fine. That's the single entity structure. That's the way the actual salaries get paid out, and it gets weird. I don't know if the designated players get two checks. I don't know if the league pays the maximum amount to them, and then they get a check from their team for the above the amount. That's how it actually works. I don't know how the checks go.
It's like, here's an envelope from New York City.
Yeah, here's one check and here's one check. It's probably direct deposited. I don't think you're actually getting the paper check. Anyway, you get your money that you've spent back. And then if you've made profit, and they did in this case, you were getting $750,000 in GAM, if I remember right off the top of my head, added to your cap. You get to use it, and now it's just added to your cap, so it's structured a little bit differently. But you get a bigger salary cap by making these kinds of deals. Now, 750 doesn't sound like a ton, but you've been able to add GAM through transfers quite a bit, which has expanded your cap, which has allowed you to get better and better and better. So there is a strategy to it, along with just the idea of being able to get better players by signing Miguel Almiron, showing the pathway, making the money. He's happy. Everybody's happy. Now you go get another player that comes in that's even better. Building the brand, all of that. It is part of a strategy to make your club better and to make your team on the field better and to give you more cap space. There's absolutely that to it. So Barco going will absolutely be something that needs to happen. It needs to happen. You need to do it for the right amount, and that's hard to follow right now because the market is way down. Way, way down. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Way, way down. FIFA came out, somebody from FIFA came out and talked about this, the amount that you could be potentially losing this year. And it's around $14 billion is what they're thinking, and you wonder what that means exactly. In a normal year, the worldwide generation of dollars is around 40 to 45 billion. Ollie Wren, who chairs the COVID-19 Relief Plan Steering Committee for FIFA, said that they're expected to lose 14.4 billion this year. When you're usually generating 40 to 45 and you're going to lose 14, that's a lot.
It's a third.
And that's not going to be spread everybody losing a third. Your bigger teams are not going to be losing as much. Your English teams are in the Premier League are not going to be losing as much because they have TV money to make up some of this. Your smaller teams are going to lose a lot. Some of your smaller clubs are going to lose a lot. Leagues that don't have huge TV contracts are going to lose a greater percentage. These are massive things. So the market for a player like Ezequiel Barco is far different than it was last year at this time. You need to sell him 100%. You need to sell him for as good of an amount as you can get. I don't know what that is anymore. I don't know. No idea. Because he is not the situation that Pity Martinez is in. Pity was older. Pity had an opportunity to make so much more money in a lesser league, but that does play in Asian Champions League, which is a good competition.
Yep.
But plays in a lesser domestic league. But, I mean, he's making 4 or 5 times what he was making here in salary and that he would have made anywhere else. And at 27, you're having a different conversation about that than you are if you're Ezequiel Barco. So I don't think Barco has that kind of move. But where does he go and how much money is it going to be? You need to make money on the deal because you want that extra cap relief, because you want more space to work with under your salary cap, because then you can spend more and have a better team. So you need to sell. I totally agree. I just don't know the timeline because of the market effects of COVID-19. It is very hard to guess. Let's see. What else we got here? We got it's a little outdated now, and it's not 100% breaking news. Pacine is still learning how the levels of news goes.
Yes.
So it's not breaking news. It gets this.
There you go. There you go.
Do you know what it is?
No, but that was the sounder I was going to use. If it wasn't breaking, that's what I was referencing.
Yes. The rumored news, I guess is the best way to put it, is that Luis Suarez will be a player of Atletico Madrid. This had been building up all morning. Looks like it's going to be done. Fabrizio Romano gave it the here we go. Barca, now I've seen conflicting things on this. I saw that originally that Suarez was going to forego the last year of his deal and not get any money to be able to go where he wanted to go. Alfredo Martinez is saying that Barca will pay around half of the final year of the contract and terminate it, but he gets to pick where he wants to go. He's going to Atletico Madrid. Remember, he was trying to go to Juventus. It sounds like they were not going to be able to get the Italian citizenship in time, so he would not have been of use to them. Morata could be going from Atleti to Juve now because Atleti's been trying to get Edin Dzeko, and that's been held up. So Morata is their plan B, and now that this move has happened, you could see other things, and this is where you're at. So interesting. Very, very, very interesting when we look at what's going on in Spain and how it's going to affect everything else. Another Barca player, Arturo Vidal, going to Inter. He is in Milan. It's been all but confirmed that it's done. I just don't think he's held up the shirt yet. So all that's done. A couple other things from Europe really quickly. We mentioned Dele Alli. We mentioned Gareth Bale and Sergio Reguilon from Real Madrid, both at Tottenham now. Barca is trying to figure out what to do with Riqui Puig. So Ronald Koeman wants him, and the club wants him to go out on loan so he plays consistently. He doesn't want to go. Ajax is where he could go to play consistently, which would be very, very interesting. Not done just yet, so stay tuned on that. But yes, Luis Suarez gets the horn for it because he gets the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. Yes. Uncle No Pockets hanging out, welcome. Hope everything is going well for you. Ricky Ricardo with another rumor that we hadn't gotten into yet, and we're going to get into MLS stuff here in a minute. Brendan Aronson potentially to Red Bull Salzburg. Makes a ton of sense. Really like that deal. And Salzburg could end up being a landing spot. Yes, Jesse Marsch is there, and that helps. But for players that you feel like fit that kind of style but aren't ready for Leipzig, Salzburg could end up being a spot. And if Red Bull New York is not going to produce players to send to Salzburg, well, maybe just the rest of MLS will.
Yeah.
And Brendan Aronson could be that guy. So keep an eye on a potential move. I mean, there's rumors that it could happen in the next week. We'll see there. Off the field, Sports Business Journal reported that there is a good level of interest for Utah Soccer Holdings. That's RSL, that's Utah Royals, that's the stadium, that's the properties, that's all of it. A lot of groups is the quote from Sports Business Journal, and I think they're all local or they all have local ties. So that's really good to see. 500 million was the starting point on numbers there. San Jose, a lot of questions about the Quakes, a lot of questions about Matias Almeida. He did not speak to the media after their 6-1 loss. Jesse Fiorinelli, the general manager, said that he was suffering from a really bad headache.
Yeah.
So Almeida didn't spend losing 6-1 will give you a headache. Fiorinelli spoke about the challenges this season. He said that the team performed well when they were able to just focus on football at the MLS's back tournament, and they did. That's accurate. They only added one player in the offseason, Osvaldo Alanis. He came in, former player at Chivas, former player with Almeida. Outside of that, it was draft picks and homegrown signings. San Jose is not going to be a big spending club. We know that. They don't have a lot of talent. Magnus Eriksson gone hurts them a lot. He was a very important player who didn't get enough credit for that team, and it's showing his absence. How much of this is on Almeida? How much of this is on the front office? I'm putting more of it on the front office because I don't think Almeida's got enough talent to work with. The thing about guys like Almeida, and Marcelo Bielsa falls into this, and there's plenty of managers who fall into this that are known for playing a certain way. They're not known for having a bunch of plan Bs or Cs or Ds. They don't. And that's a knock on Bielsa. It's a knock on Almeida. They play the way that they train the team to play, and that's how they play. That's one reason why they don't stay in a club for a very long period of time. Because opponents adjust, players get burned out a little bit, because it is intense. You are playing in a very intense style, and you are playing in that style all the time, and you are training in that style. But you're not going to change. Almeida's not going to all of a sudden turn into a bunker and counter team. It's just not going to happen. He's going to try to play the way he thinks the game should be played. And I love him for it. I love that mentality. I don't think he has the players to play in that way. And I think it's showing right now. And San Jose's got to figure something out. They got to figure out if they can go get better players that fit his style, or if they need to play in a different style because they're never going to have those players. And I don't think Almeida needs $30 million transfers, but he needs players who can play in his style. And he needs something more than one player and some draft picks and homegrown signings. So you're kind of stuck on both sides of it if you're San Jose. But you lost Eriksson. That took a whole lot out of this team. And we will see how they recover because it is not looking good right now.
Nope.
Peter Vermes was ticked off after the game against Dallas. One, he's ticked off because they lost 3-2 at home to Dallas. They've had two inexplicable home losses with Dallas and with Houston this year. But he called Dallas's antics, and that's in quotes, disrespectful, and that's in quotes. I'm going to read just a little bit of what he said after the match, because he said a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Chilowicz was the referee. 6 yellow cards to FC Dallas players. 4 were for time wasting in the final 20 minutes. Vermes said this: if you want people to watch the games in this league, whether it be live or on television, fans don't want to see those types of antics in the game. If we're puzzled at times why people don't come to watch you play or why they don't watch you on TV, I think you look at those antics and people don't want to see them. I'm involved in this game and I've been since I was born. And I don't want to see those things. I don't understand why the fan would want to see those types of antics in a game. I think it's disrespectful to the sport. I think it's disrespectful to the league. I think it's disrespectful to everybody who's involved in Major League Soccer, whether that be fans, owners, staffs, players. Those things just don't belong in our game. I wouldn't want to see it, and I think most people don't want to see it. Now, then he went on to say, but the referee has got to manage that. I thought at times he was really good, and I think at times, I think that referees have the easiest job in the world to manage behavior on the field, and they have the chance with cards and with that whistle to shape the game. And when players are making a mockery of it, it shouldn't be taken care of by the referee crew. Or it should be taken care of by the referee crew. And unfortunately, at times in today's game, it wasn't. In other situations, I thought he did very well. I think there are things that Alex actually does really well in the game, but I just don't think that those things should be allowed. It is something, and we've talked about it from a persistent infringement perspective. Time wasting is another thing, and look, it's always going to come up with a team that loses. That's how it is. It's incredibly frustrating when you're falling behind. Miami did it pretty cynically at times. I thought there probably should have been another minute or two of stoppage time. I thought cards should have been brandished. I think I shocked Mike on the call when Luis Robles got a yellow in stoppage time for time wasting, and I was so mad about it because it didn't matter. Because, I mean, it comes up in a stat like that, like, 6 yellow cards. Oh, he was really on point with it. You gave a yellow.
Look at the context of the situation when it was given.
You gave a yellow to a goalkeeper who's not going to see another yellow, and you gave it in stoppage time for time wasting that he had been doing for 45 minutes. So it meant nothing. It was such a waste, but it looks good on a stat sheet. That ticked me off. I was not quite Peter Vermes' level of ticked off, that's for sure. But yeah, if you're losing games and teams do that, you're going to be very angry about it. If you're winning games and you are trying to run the clock out, you are going to waste time. And Atlanta United's done it. And it frustrates Atlanta when they lose, and they have also wasted time when they're leading. It is part of the game. I am with Vermes in the sense that referees have to manage it better. At times, referees do manage it really well, and at times they completely ignore it. The worst times when they ignore it is when they don't have the time back. If you're not going to throw the cards for it, fine. You better make it right with stoppage time.
Yep.
You better. If you don't, then yes, you've completely missed it. And there are times where it gets egregious, and there's times where it is disrespectful, and those things need to be eradicated. I think Vermes is over the top with the statements here, and I think it's out of anger and it's out of frustration about people not wanting to watch because of it. I've never heard that complaint, not directly anyway. I've heard it from fans of teams who lost. I've never heard it from somebody saying, just in a general sense, so yeah, I don't like to watch soccer because people waste time late in games. I've never heard that. It does drive you crazy. And it's something referees need to do better with. I think in this country, they definitely need to do better with it. Throw that quick yellow for it, or make it very clear that, and you see referees at times point to their watch. Make it very clear that time's coming back. And that time is not just going to be wasted. And if that means we're playing games with 12 minutes of stoppage time, fine. If you want to waste the time, you're not going to waste it. Like, it needs to be handled better, that's for sure.
Yes. I got stuff on Twitter. You got stuff on Twitch? Where do you want to go?
Let's go to Twitter and clean up there since we haven't been there for a minute.
All right, so this is all the stuff from this morning. Nathan Pugh, it would serve everyone much better to switch from watching the matches to listening to the radio call. I find the team less frustrating that way. Plus, the descriptive groin shot. Also, stop following the team on social media. They provide nothing that will make anyone feel any better about the team. Sunshine pumpers for days.
You have to be. I mean, the team thing, like, the team's not going to trash itself.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, I don't know what people want. Like, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, I think Nathan's trying to make a joke, but, like, the team is not going to say we suck.
Yeah, they're not. No.
The players are not going to say we suck. Nobody's going to say that. Like, no team. If you do suck, and I don't think this team is like, you're not losing 6-1.
Mm-mm.
You're losing a lot of one-goal games, which is just maddening.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not getting beat 6-1. You're not getting beat 3-0 3 times out of 4. It's a different conversation. But the team, even if the team is the worst ever, is not going to come out after a game and say, yeah, we suck. That's not how any of this works, and y'all know that. So stop. Of course they're sunshine pumpers. They're building their brand. And now it's hard to build your brand. And it's hard to find the right messaging. But stop. I appreciate the shout out about radio. I mean, we have to be descriptive because you can't see it. And whoa, that was rough for old Jeff. That hurt me.
Yeah, every man watching that match or listening to y'all simultaneously felt it when that happened.
Yes, that was very painful. That was very sad.
Chris Hutchison says, while I was encouraged to see us daring to breach the forbidden zone, parenthesis, the opponent's third of the field, I see a backline that remains disorganized and now seemingly cannot play out of the back. Further, I'm beginning to question Gazana's starting goalkeeper. We're in tryouts for 2021 mode.
You are in tryouts for 2021 mode. That's absolutely true. That doesn't mean you sacrifice wins right now. But, yeah, you are. Because, again, you're going to have a new manager. You're going to have changes to the roster. Absolutely. All those things are accurate. I'm trying to remember times that they didn't play out of the back well, and I got nothing. The defensive organization, I mean, there's a couple different things that happened in this game. The first goal, it's a transition from their half to Atlanta's half, and Franco Escobar was high up the field, which was fine. They didn't make the foul or the play in the middle third, which needed to happen. That was my issue with it. They needed to break that play up and not allow them to transition. They did not. So Morgan makes the run. It's a good ball from Pizarro. You're stretched a little bit trying to deal with that. Robinson deals with the cross and is clearing it. He slides in to clear it, and it goes off of Anton Walks and falls to Agudelo, which is just incredibly frustrating. You didn't deal with the break well. You were clearing the cross, and it deflects back to Walks. The throw-in is completely and utterly ridiculous. To concede a goal in that way that quickly, because Eric Remedi and Franco Escobar were both late to react. Escobar, you can go back and watch it frame by frame. Breck Shea has reacted faster than Escobar. It's why he gets to the spot. Remedi has reacted slower than Pizarro because Pizarro made the run to get in. And it's all happening in front of people, and it doesn't sound like there was any communication. I mean, we were hearing audio from the field. I didn't hear anybody yelling anything in the build-up to that. They took the throw in quickly, and they punished you for it. Those moments where Atlanta reacts slowly, and it happens in transition and it happens on dead balls, are the problem. Just general defensive organization is not the problem to me, and it's not building out of the back that's the massive problem. It's building into the final third. Those are the things where I'm frustrated. The back line, you want Fernando Meza in this group. You brought him in to be a starter. He's played half the games. Anton Walks has been really good. And Anton Walks has done a good job in his stead. I think you need to get Meza in if he's ready to go. If he can play, he needs to play at this point because you need to see what that can be. Because early on, liked it. He wasn't playing with Miles Robinson either early on. They've had very little time to build any kind of a connection. 3.5 games, if I'm not mistaken. The MLS's back tournament where you were playing in a 3 and the first half against Nashville. And that's it. Want to get Meza in there and see what that can look like. And if that means Walks has to sit for a little while, it's not because of his play. It's because Meza, I think, is the better player, and you want to see it now. Because Walks has kept the job because he's been so good, but that's dropped off just a little bit. So Meza should get a look here if he's ready to go.
Shiva, even though I don't like to play the blame game, but I think the front office will and should take responsibility for what we're seeing. I may be totally wrong, but I still think LGP is not with the team because of FDB, and LGP is a big miss. So my question is, what do you think the front office learned through this 2019 and 2020 roster and managerial changes that they can apply moving forward to make sure we are stronger and better coming out of this and sustain it for years to come?
I'm going to push back on the LGP Frank DeBoer thing. That was not any of the conversation around the transfer. And it feels like trying to find something out of it. Again, I'll point back to they changed the name of the shows on Teise. It was the afternoon show where LGP sat in with them and said nothing negative about Frank DeBoer, about Atlanta United, about MLS as a whole. That was in late November, early December. I think that stuff was squashed. I don't think it affected his transfer at all. I don't. There's nothing to back that up. It's total speculation. So I'm not rolling with that. I'm sorry. Blaming the front office again. We went through the roster. We went through the moves, and we'll go through the potential lineups for this weekend here in just a second because I did promise that, or for this week. But we went through the roster. We went through the decisions. I've said my piece on it. What have you learned? That it's really hard to build a team in a salary cap league. And it's really hard to deal with injuries. Like, those are the things you've learned, and you knew that. It's tough because you're not going to keep the same group for year after year after year after year. You can't. Salary cap leagues are designed to make teams move talent because you can't keep paying it. You have to move it because you have to fit under a cap. So it's hard. Does that mean you need to, put more resources into scouting? Okay, potentially, and they already put a lot into that. Does it mean you need to... I don't know. I honestly don't know. A lot of this has been, I think, highlighted and stretched because of the injury to Joseph Martinez and this year, because it's been very hard to build in this year. So in a normal year, I don't know if we're having the same conversation, but there's not some magic fix, and that's the thing that I think people are trying to lead you to believe by saying that it's all in the front office. They didn't write the rules. They're not the Braves who are deciding not to spend a certain amount. They're limited in what they can do. They have to make tough decisions, as every team in this league does, and that's why you don't see a lot of teams have the 3-year run that Atlanta United did in 17, 18, and 19, because it's very hard, because the margin is very thin. One injury, one miss, and I'm not going to say that there were misses in the way this roster was constructed yet. I don't think we have the full story yet. But one thing can make it very, very difficult for it to work. That's why it's hard to do it year after year after year after year. And Atlanta's found that. I mean, as every team does. So, New York Red Bulls, where are they? LAFC's struggling with injuries this year. Toronto and Seattle have been two that have been very impressive, and they've had to remake their rosters over the years that they've been really good. They've had to consistently reload, and they've done a really good job of it. But Toronto also had a year where they didn't make the playoffs. So, it's not easy. And they already knew that, and if that's been reinforced, maybe that's it.
Did you want to go over the roster? Because there's still plenty on Twitter.
Yeah, let's get into that. Uncle No Pocket said too much roster turnover in one season is part of the problem. You don't get to choose, though. And that's the hard thing about a team that started in 17. You had guys whose contracts were coming up. There was no time to delay. You couldn't let Darlington Nagbe walk on a free, which he reportedly made clear that that's what he was going to do. So you had to get something back for him. You were going into the last year with Gressel. He didn't want to sign a new deal here. He wanted more money. You decided that you didn't want to pay as much as he wanted. You couldn't let him walk on a free. That would have been bad business. That's two guys that you brought in a lot of resources for. Okay? LGP, could you have paid him more? I don't know where the cap was. His agent, according to Bocanegra, said that if there was an opportunity to make more money, he wanted it. And he got it. Because I don't know why this deal happened otherwise. He didn't ship him out for nothing, and he wouldn't have went there if he was going to take a pay cut. That wouldn't have made any sense. So, could you have done something different there? We don't know the details. Tito Villalba, I don't think makes a difference in this team. That's the roster turnover. That's it. That's it. The biggest one is an injury to Joseph, but that's the roster turnover. It's 3 starters. If you want to get into the others, we can, but there's not any huge issues. I mean, Pogba, Merrim, Pereira, it's 3 starters. It's LGP, it's Nagbe, it's Gressel. That's it. That's the issue. So, I mean, I don't know what else you could have done. It was going to come up. It was going to happen. So, lineups for this week. Of course, we'll be waiting to hear on Ezequiel Barco, because if he can play, you want him in. I would like to see him out wide, but in a free roll to come inside. And I think that works best on the left, because you want George Bello to get forward. You got to figure out what you do with Gallagher in that case. Gallagher can play on the right. I would move him to the right, because I think he needs to continue to play. He's playing that well. He's given this team something that they need. And if that means right now Brooks Lennon is on the sideline, he's on the sideline. Up top, for me, it's John. You want it to be Kubo. It needs to be Kubo because I think he has more upside. Right now, John's helping you more. I think you're going to keep going back and forth until somebody makes that job their own. Because, I mean, John is helping you more, but he's not making that a must start right now. Kubo has the upside. He's got to start scoring goals. He's got to start converting on some of these chances. So Gallagher on the right, Hosetu as the 10. You can turn to Hindman again, because if you feel like Hosetu didn't do enough to keep that spot because you needed more from him going forward, thought he was good in the middle phase, he wasn't good going into the final third, okay, you can turn back to Hindman. I don't know if he did enough in that game to put him there. If you want to put Barco there, keep Gallagher on the left, then put somebody on the right side, you could go back to Lennon, you could go to Mulroney, you could make those conversations. For me, I think you're better with a central midfield pairing right now of Jeff Lorenowitz, and I don't know if he's going to be able to go on Wednesday. I think he'll start one of the next two.
Yeah.
Remedi will start as the 6 in the game that Jeff doesn't. And then it's down to, does Remedi play as the 8? Can he play the next 2 games? Hosetu, Hindman, you're chopping it up and you're mixing and you're matching. I think those are your real options in those phases of play. Does Tyler Wolff get another opportunity? Probably off the bench, unless you just have to turn to him because of fitness levels, because of these number of games. We don't know what's coming after this, and that's a big question mark. Are you going to play the following Wednesday, or do you have a week after the game in Chicago? We don't know yet. The back line, if Mesa's ready to go, I would like to see the back line turn into Bello, Robinson, Mesa, and Escobar. That's where I'd like to see that group play together. That's what it is right now. I mean, there's not a ton of options that you haven't been able to try. You need somebody out of Remedi, Hosetu, or Hindman to step up and be able to contribute to the attack. You need Barco fit. Right now, if you decide to go with one of Hosetu or Hindman centrally, Barco on one side, Gallagher gets the other starting spot up top with your forward, which is either John or Kubo Torres. That's your options. Moreno's not going to be able to play anytime soon. I mean, you got to get the signing done. You got to get him here. You got to get him eligible. It's minimum 2 weeks away. Matuidi was able to get in fast from Miami. Higuain, we don't know yet. Can you get Moreno in 2 weeks, or is it going to be more like 3? Is it going to be more like 4? We don't know yet. He'll come in and play centrally. He'll be that most attack-minded of the central trio. He will drop back and he will defend, but he will be the most attack-minded of the midfield 3, and I think that will mean Barco will go out wide. So if you want to go ahead and start getting down that road, then it's Barco on one side, it's Gallagher on the other, and it's Hosetu or Hindman centrally to push the team forward. Than with Kubo or John up top. And it needs to be Kubo. Kubo was brought here to be that guy. He has to start finding the back of the net. And that's with Dom being out. That's Dom out with a hamstring. When he's able to go, he gets in there. But we don't know when that's going to be.
Bartimus Prime was in this morning. He says, we've been told this roster's talented, but it keeps losing. So either A, this roster's not very talented, B, the players are massively underperforming, or C, the manager is poorly preparing the team for matches. Option A gains more validity with each loss.
It doesn't, for me. Option B is what gains more validity with each loss because of the way you're losing. You gave up a goal off a throw-in. You've consistently given up goals in transition. These are things that you are taught to do, and Frank de Boer didn't forget how to teach those things. Stephen Glass's teams have been good in transition, and I mean, throw-in, again, it's like the onside kick. You're not blaming a coach for not defending a throw-in. I'm sorry, you're not. That's schoolboy stuff. So, for me, it's B. And I don't know why that's a thing that's not even being talked about, because I don't know. That's the way I'm seeing it right now. The mistakes so often are individual mistakes. So often are mistakes of focus. fatigue is a factor here. There's no question about it. I think fatigue was a massive factor for Brooks Lennon in Nashville because he hadn't had a game that poor. Came out of nowhere. He'd played a lot of minutes. Added up. I put it more on B. The set piece defending in general has to be better. The transition moments have to be better. You clean those up, you're not conceding a whole lot of goals. You're not conceding a whole bunch of goals from teams passing the ball 20 times in the attacking half and creating an opportunity and your defense breaking down. It's not happening. You're not conceding a lot of goals, period, first off. I mean, look at your goal differential. For the results, look at your goal differential. That tells you the margins are very small. For me, it's about performance. And just like we went through the lineup talking about this week, you need performances out of whoever's going to play centrally in the attack-minded role of Heineman or Hosetu. You need performances out of Gallagher to continue, and he's delivered. You need performances out of Barco. You need a performance out of a number 9. You need better performances out of those players. You do. So, no, I'm putting it on B. If I'm looking at one thing that needs to change, it's B, because I don't think we're looking after these games. I'm not. I don't have the feeling after these games that you couldn't compete. If you couldn't compete, you don't have the talent. San Jose has a problem with talent.
Yeah.
I don't have that thought after these games. I have the thought of how did you concede after a throw-in? How did you concede on another set piece? How did you concede after this mistake? Those are the thoughts I have. That's performance. That's performance to me. So that's where I'm at right now. And it comes down to a time where the players know. Like, they know, and I think they're feeling that pressure internally. I think they're putting it on themselves. But they know the performances have to be better because jobs are on the line. It's flat out.
Michael Head, impact to Barco's value of missing matches to knocks or injuries, as according to Doug, he's only appeared in 64% of Atlanta United matches since his arrival. Not sure how Doug accounted for the national team.
I don't think he did. Some of those are national team call-ups. Some of those were the U20 World Cup last year.
And hashtag voyage to the bottom, i.e. Michael is saying sell on value.
I mean, with Barco, he's had different injuries, and that's what's frustrating because he didn't come in with an injury-prone tag. I don't believe he had an injury history at Independiente. It hasn't been the same things. He had a quad at the beginning when he got here. He did have a disciplinary issue that took him out of a couple of games in 2018. That's a fact. He had a good performance early on in 19. He went to the U20 World Cup. He missed a bunch of games. And I think the largest bulk of those games he missed after being kicked in the inside of the knee in Columbus in the Open Cup. I don't know if Doug was factoring in non-MLS games in that. I don't know what his stats were on that. But that injury happened in an Open Cup game, just saying. So, I mean, that's a contact injury. This season, it's been seemingly lots of little minor stuff, and that's frustrating. And you hope it's not injury prone, but yes, long term he's going to be sold. That's going to happen because that was the plan when he was signed. So you need him to play, you need him to perform to get the maximum value. Now he's going to get good value because he had a great U20 World Cup, because he's a very talented player. No, he does not hold on to the ball too long and all this kind of stuff. The game is not based in the 1970s anymore. You like to have players who can take people on the dribble. You like to have players who give you the things Ezequiel Barco has. He hasn't been healthy enough to give you those consistently here, and it's been frustrating. But he is going to get sold for a good amount of money. You want it to be the best amount of money. And when that comes, he will be sold. And you'll move on. And he's like Pitti for me. I think both of them will be more appreciated when they're not here. And that's a shame, but I think it's going to be the same for both of them. And Barco to be linked to a Sevilla, a Europa League champion, to be linked to a Fiorentina, a team that has a lot of ambition in Serie A, those are good clubs for him to be linked to, and I think both of them would be a good fit. We'll see if the offer meets the number that Atlanta wants. And that's the hardest part, is this is not 2019. This is not 2020 before the global pandemic. Everybody's taking a hit, and everybody wants to pay less for transfers. That doesn't change what Atlanta paid out to get him. So you're trying to make money on a deal that was pre-pandemic, and that's hard. So we'll just have to wait and see what the numbers come in on. But you're going to get value. I don't know how much, but you're going to get a good transfer fee for him. It'll be the second highest, I think, because I think it'll be more than Pitty. It'll be the second highest guaranteed amount up front in league history.
Rich Ransom is in this morning on this side. And Rich says the Union win 4-1 over a 10-man Montreal. Then again, the Union are supposed to win 4-1 over a 10-man Montreal. But the East goes through Columbus. Are the Crew for real?
They're showing more and more that they are. I'm still a little skeptical of them in crunch time. I still don't know if their backline is quite good enough, and I don't know if they're good enough defensively in the spine of the field. If they dictate the terms of the game via possession, they're very difficult. Very, very difficult. They have a top scorer in Jossie Zardes. They have conductors in Darlington Nagbe and Pedro Santos. Very, very good team. If you can make them have to defend, and I think Philadelphia can, I don't know if they hold up as well. I don't. I feel like Philadelphia is better constructed for playoff soccer. I feel like that team has a little more to it in those knockout scenarios. Columbus might be the better team during the regular season, but I think Philly is better constructed to win the title out of those two.
Tafka is in, and he says Atlanta United is the case study against traditional pro-rel in MLS. The salary cap basically forced us to move on from 3 to 4 key players, and ta-da, a club formerly challenging for the Eastern Conference Championship is now 12th. Hybrid pro-rel is still a great middle ground, though. Forced in the sense that the cost-benefit analysis of future cap expenditures led us to trading Gressel, Tito, and LGP. Arguably, if we could offer whatever salaries we wanted, Nagbe would have gotten an offer that would have kept him in Atlanta as well.
You will not have traditional pro-rel and a traditional salary cap for that very reason. You won't. I don't think you ever have traditional promotion relegation in this league. If you have any form of promotion relegation, it'll be between MLS teams in an MLS structure. It will not look like it does in other countries. The game is built differently. The game has had different reasons why it's been built differently. I don't think any of that happens. So Tafka is right in that is the argument for why you don't have it. Because if you're going to have a cap that forces a team to lose players, you're not going to put that team at risk of being relegated because of your cap restrictions. That's foolish. No owner is going to sign up for that. I think if you have anything like it, it will be modified and it will be within an MLS structure. And I also think it will go along with greatly opening up the cap or creating opportunities to where teams don't fall into this where they have to move players on because of cap stuff. This wasn't strictly because of cap stuff, though. I mean, the cap factored into it because you couldn't just pay people, period. It also factored into you're going into the last year with Nagbe and Gressel, and they didn't want to stay. Neither one was going to sign a new deal for different reasons. So you had to get value for them then. Because otherwise, you turn into the Albertelli situation, and that deal's gone final this morning. He is at Boa Vista in Portugal for next to nothing for the Dynamo. He's actually taking less money to go there. That's on him because he wanted out because he wasn't going to sign a new deal. Houston offered him money, but they mismanaged it to where they could have made... at one point, I think there were much larger offers for him. I want to say at 5+. But you held on to him, and now you have no leverage. So you got a little something for him. You got a token for him, and that's great. But you don't want to be in that situation because it doesn't help your cap for the following year. It doesn't give you allocation money to work with. So... It's dealing with players at the end of their contracts, which every club in the world does, and that's complicated by the cap here. So it is what it is. But no, I'm with Tafka. It's not. You're not going to have traditional pro-rel and a hard cap because then you're making teams risk getting relegated, and that doesn't make any sense.
Daniel Price says, I'm a firm believer that we will be better eventually. It hurts right now, but we will make it through, and hey, at least we ain't the Falcons.
Yeah, you will. I mean, look, the thing is, like I've said over and over again, and it's, I don't know if it's just not cool to say it, but you lose a player like Joseph, you are going to struggle. There's just no way around it. You can come up with every other narrative you want, that's fine. This team is not playing the way that it is with Joseph Martinez in it. Period. It isn't. There's zero you can say to convince me of that. Would they be the best team in the league with Joseph? No, because there's other things that have, compounded it. But you're much better. You're much better in the attack. I think the leadership is much better. The attitude on the field is much better. Joseph brings you all of that. So you have him, it's better. When he is back, it will be better. Next year, it will be better with him. Can you find ways to be better this year? Yeah, you need to. And that's been the frustration. And that's a different conversation. That's what was disappointing about the MLS's back tournament. You didn't have an answer. You tried a couple different things. If Frank DeBoer was convinced that Manuel Castro could have been the replacement, he should have played in the second game too. But it went away from it. It felt like it was flailing at that point. And the Columbus game was enough to say, no, that's it. And you haven't been able to have anybody step up into that role. You've got two options in Adam John and Kubo Torres, and John's been better for me. His ceiling is lower. Kubo's ceiling is higher, but it hasn't gotten there for Kubo yet. You're not getting production up top. You're not going to score a bunch of goals. You make the silly mistakes that you're making, you're not going to win a bunch of games.
Nick Brawley, how about that overreaction from Stu Holden at ESPN? Stu Holden's at Fox. Stu Holden, where he said he's shocked at how our team looks like they're quitting and that we have a lack of effort. I have to disagree with them.
I completely and utterly disagree with that. Look, it's an easy thing to say when a team's not playing well. They're not trying hard. How do you quantify that?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what goes against that for me. It's an easy thing to say. If you're not paying attention to a team closely, it's a very easy thing to say. If you were not scoring goals to respond to some of these bad goals you're conceding, okay. If you're having 3-0 losses on a regular basis, sure, we're having a different conversation. Have they given up? Has LAFC given up? Is that the tag on them? No, it's not. That's weird. They're not fighting back in games. Atlanta is. Now, Atlanta's not good enough to win these games because of the mistakes that they're giving up and the early goals they're conceding. That's a fact. But that's not an effort thing to me. The game that I questioned the effort was the first half in Columbus, or against Columbus. That was it. Second half was better. First half was horrendous. That's a different conversation than what we've seen here. Very different. I think that's a lazy take.
Bartimus Prime comes back in. He says, who the hell keeps knocking Barco in training? Does he need a special color training bib like a QB so teammates don't kick him?
It's getting close. He's getting kicked a lot in games, too. Let's remember that. Fouled 5+ times per 90 minutes he plays. That's a crazy number. That's a crazy high number. I think Maradona in the 90 World Cup, where he was playing on an ankle that was like twice its normal size, was being fouled 7 times per 90 minutes. And that was obscene. Barco's 5. That's absurd. I'll go back through recent years if I can do it and see where those numbers typically are. That's far higher than I typically remember. I'll make sure that it's per 90 because that was when I did it that way and I jumped out at that with Barco. I was like, wow, that's crazy. It does affect you out over time. If you're just getting whacked consistently, like you're beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you're not feeling right because you're beat up, and you got to find a way to keep getting through it. And I don't know if it's happening in training. In this one, it wasn't necessarily said that he was kicked in training. Friday, he didn't feel right to play this weekend. I don't know what caused it. We'll have to see. You didn't say anything before the game because you're not going to tell the opponent, hey, we're going to be missing this guy. You tried to catch them with more speed out wide than they were accustomed to. I could say you did a little bit. They adjusted at halftime. You still had chances. You still created double-digit chances in this game. You should have gotten a result on Saturday. If you don't concede goals off throw-ins and you don't concede goals in the second minute on a transition sequence that you need to foul earlier, you don't lose that game. Those are things that are separate. But, yeah, if Barco's getting kicked in training, yes, put a bib on him. I'm with it. But he's getting kicked so much in games, and that's just the fouls that are getting called. Like, it does add up.
Scoring update, Al-Sad and Al-Nasser are scoreless in the 15th minute. That match started at the top of the hour. Chris Hutchison. This team lost LGP, Nagbe, Gressel, and Parkhurst before this season ever started. That's just too much on-field leadership experience and chemistry gone. It was going to be at least a rough start to 2020. We never compensated for those losses.
It was going to be a different start to 2020. That's accurate. And the talent on the field, we've talked about. The leadership is a harder thing to quantify, and I agree. I think it's an issue. I don't know what you could have done outside of finding space under the cap for LGP if he wanted to accept that. The way it was presented, he wanted more money. If an opportunity came for him to make more, he would be interested. It did. He was interested. He was sold. That happened. Would he have taken more here if you could have given it to him? I don't know. I don't know where that stood. No way to know that. He was a leader in the group. Nagbe was not. Nagbe was a good teammate, a good part of the group. Nagbe was not a leader in the group. On the field, different conversation in the way he played, but in terms of leadership, if we're going down that road, he was not. I don't think Gressel was either. I don't know that for sure. He was one of the younger players in the team. I would be surprised if he was. LGP was the leader that you lost from last season. That's the only one. And it's a big loss because Fernando Meza, I think, was expected to come in and provide leadership. That's hard to do day one. That takes time. You lost time after the pandemic broke and you had no training time where you build these things. Then you had a bad tournament in MLS's back. And then he's been injured. So it was always going to be tough. It was made tougher because of the way the calendar worked out after those moves happened. But in terms of leadership, losing LGP was a big one. Absolutely. There's no question about that. And you haven't been able to make up for it yet. Now, what's frustrating is you do have leaders in this team, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of leadership at times. And that has to change. Somebody's got to do it. At this point, I mean, I'd say it's completely on the table. Whoever. Somebody. Somebody step up and do it. It doesn't matter right now.
Tafka says, this man is in China. China! He does not have multiple years left on his contract at D-Pro. They aren't lighting it up right now anyway, and in light of COVID, I'd imagine D-Pro would like out of the massive salary they promised, go get him for 2021, and it is a very young gift of someone named Rafa Benitez.
Yeah, he went to China, so I don't think he would rule out going to MLS. And he is under contract right now, and they're not done with their season. I think they're finished here next week, I believe. You're checking, I think anyway. I think you're inquiring about his interest. You should be. Go get him. That's taking it beyond the point that we have any way of knowing. Would he be interested? How much money would he want? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, I think on the field, I think the way he wants to play, it can work. Little more defensive than Tata Martino, or than what we saw out of Tata Martino's teams anyway. Tata's more defensive than he got credit for sure. But I think Rafa would fit. I absolutely think he would fit. And he's a big name, and the job would not be too big for him, and he would have no problems with that. And I think it would work really well. But can you get it done? Depends on if he's interested in coming, or if he's interested in trying to find a European job, or if he's available, first off, because he's at least under contract through the rest of the season, and I don't know beyond that. I don't know if he has an out or any of that. But, yeah, I think you want to know if he's interested. I have no problem with that.
Yep. Chris Hutchison, a couple of programming thoughts. He says, Moments on Monday could be a new segment, and he says he doesn't ever see pairing Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew. And actually, Chris, it's a chaser. It's not a pairing. I don't combine the two. I used to do. When was the last time you did a suicide? When you were at a restaurant with the drink machine where you'd have like a little bit of each one and you put it into one?
I'm not stupid. I never did that.
You never did that?
That's gross.
Not even when you were like 14 or 15, you didn't sit there and go, ooh, and you get a little Fanta.
I might have done it once at like a convenience store and then realized that it was stupid because it was gross.
Yeah, so, I used to do that when I was a kid, but pairing Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew, it's like one's a chaser for the other, Chris. It is not a blended thing. Rich Ransom's back in with another couple of Philly notes. What he's hearing from Overreaction Monday, he says, this is why other MLS supporters make fun of Atlanta support. One bad week, fans go nuts. In 2019, while winning trophies, fans still went nuts. Look at Chicago, Philly, New England. Fans stuck. And he says, and yes, there's the running joke that within 90% of the Atlanta fan base, this soccer or MLS thing is new to them. LAFC support at least had Galaxy, Chivas USA, Liga MX to support and watch. I mean, this is all out of love. 2021, I'm down at the Benz for Union versus Atlanta United, and I'll bring the Yards beer. And Aronson isn't going to Salzburg until January. He leaves before the season ends. We'll riot.
Well, you got Anthony Fontana if he leaves, which is not a bad replacement. You don't want him to leave, though. I'm with you on that. It is new, and that is part of the reaction. There are a lot of overreactions, and what's frustrating now is there are a lot of narratives being created to back up overreactions, and it's making it worse. For what reason, I don't know. I really, truly don't know. I don't know what people are gaining from getting their tweet clicked on or getting articles clicked on or what that are stretching the truth, sometimes not true, period, sometimes revising things that happened in the past. I don't know. I don't know, but that's where it is right now. Atlanta sports is a very negative place at times, period. The Falcons, and look, yesterday they lived up to it. I saw it all day when they had a big lead. Oh, they're going to blow it. Oh, they're going to blow it. Oh, they should have got this here. Oh, they're going to blow it. They shouldn't have blown it. They did blow it. The Braves, I mean, the Braves are still the best team in the National League. Is that right? Or have I completely missed where they collapsed? That it seems like they're collapsing on a regular basis.
Oh, but they're built for the regular season.
Well, no, that's a valid concern. I mean, that's a valid one, but it's I don't follow the Braves like I used to. I'm not going to lie. I did when I was a kid. I don't follow them like I used to. I don't follow the ins and outs of it. When I check in on social media during a Braves game to see how the Braves are doing, I've seriously thought they were one of the worst teams in the league. And then I go look at the standings, and I'm like, they're the second best team in the National League. Okay. They're tied with the Cubs for the second best team. They're leading the division by 3 games. Okay. Now, do they need to win a playoff series? 150% they do.
Yes.
But they don't suck. And that's the thing. That's what's got to stop. Last year for Atlanta United, it was far from sucking. They were the 3rd best team in the regular season in the entire league. They won the Open Cup. They got to the conference final, which is where the 3rd place team in the regular season should get. What Rich says about last year is 100% accurate. That was way over the top with some of the talk about it. Completely and utterly over the top. And look, reality check. And Bernd makes a really good point in the Twitch pitch about this. Rafa Benitez is a big name.
Mm-hmm.
People had problems with Frank DeBoer last year about the way his teams played and his focus on defense. You're going to have the same questions about Rafa Benitez. And if the results last year weren't good enough, people are going to get mad when he actually talks about defending. Like, that's the game, y'all. This year, different conversation. And there's a lot of things that have gone into this year that are not typical. But last year, the reactions, and Rich is right on that. Like, that was wild to me. It didn't make any sense. Because you had a team that won trophies and you had a team that was very good. You've had a team that's been very, very good. And that's why for me, the attacks on the front office and the attacks on anything associated with the club right now is craziness. Because of what this team has done from day one. That doesn't mean you're absolved from ever being blamed for anything. Don't get me wrong. But wow. The way it's turned, and it turned before the results weren't there too, by the way. Because last year, when you're the 3rd place team in the league, the results are there. In this league, that is a cap league, that you're not going to be Bayern Munich, you're not going to be Juventus, you're not going to just win because you turn up to be 3rd. Yes, it was not a bad season. It was a very, very good season. But I don't know what to say. those things do change with time. They change with history. They change with experiences. But what concerns me right now is there is a growing movement to make anything that is not winning 5-0 on a regular basis a failure and an insult to the sport. And that toxicity is very bad because it creates an unrealistic expectation. And for some of the criticism that the club has created an unrealistic expectation, the reaction to wins last year tells you otherwise. Because the club never said that it has to be 5-0 or it's bad. They said they want an attacking team. This team became an attacking team last year. Did it take them some time to get there? It did. Did they find ways to win while they were getting there? They did. I don't know. I don't know. I hope that changes. I hope this does not become a toxic situation on the whole to where nothing is good enough. That's no fun for anybody involved in it. And as I've said many times to you guys who listen, it's not the club who creates the community around it. They don't define how the community feels about things. It shouldn't be the media or the blogs or the podcasts around it that do. The fans create the feeling around the team. And it's up to the 17s, and I won't say the word that gets everybody upset. It's not about the true 17s. It's about all of you. You guys create the narrative around the team. And it's up to you to decide what story you want about the team. It's up to you what feeling you want. Doesn't mean that you don't criticize. Nobody has said that. There are amazing fan bases all over the world that are absolutely critical when the team's playing poorly. And right now the team's playing poorly. That doesn't mean you don't support. And that's what Franco was saying. You know, when Newell's Old Boys is going through a rough patch, people are completely and utterly critical. But when they're able to turn up at the stadium and be loud and sing in support of their players, they do. They don't show up to boo the team after a bad pass. They show up to support the team. Because that's what it is. That's what it's about. And they don't say, well, I'm not going to watch because they're not winning. And they don't check out and then come back in when the bandwagon's hot. That's what Franco was saying. It was about, if you're not going to be here when we need your support, don't come back when everything's great. That's bandwagon type of talk. I don't know, but it's up to all of the 17s to decide how they want the conversation to be around this team. And I hope it does not turn into what it is about the Braves and the Falcons at times, and about Georgia football, and name your other college football team. And I hope it doesn't turn that toxic. But right now, it's pretty rough. The team's not playing well, so it's expected to be rough. It's gotten past that. It's gotten past that right now, and I hope that changes. I do.
A couple more on Twitter before we're done for the day on this side. B. Wallace B _8523 thinks that...
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Uncle, I hope this is clear. I know you checked in later in the show. It is not saying you can't criticize. Nobody has said that. I hope that's clear from me. It is not saying don't criticize and just sit back. It's saying still support the team. That's all. That's all Franco's tweet said. And the idea about True 17 saying that real fans don't criticize, that was not what the club's tweet said. That is how people took it and wanted to run with it. That's not what it said. 17s are the fans of the team. True fans of the team, we see you. What? There's nothing about saying you don't criticize. And no, the problem right now, and the thing that we wouldn't know if it happened, is if they were in the building. I don't know who's pushing back on Uncle on this. It's not only poor criticism getting pushed back; it's any criticism. The team Twitter account is not pushing back on any criticism, which a lot of people seem to want to attack the team social media account, which again makes no sense. They're not pushing back on any criticism. The players and the coaching staff, when they have media availability, I think they've been pretty clear in saying they need to be better. They've said they've heard people saying that they're not very good, and they think they are. I don't know what's wrong with that. I just don't know what's wrong with that. Criticize, want more, expect it to be better. All those things are absolutely true. I think all that it is about this, and this is what I see worldwide about this game and what I see about any great fan base, is when times are tough, they still show up. Now, we can't see you in the stands right now, and that stinks. And that's what could probably be different here. And I would hope would be different. I hope this feel would not be in the stands. We don't know that right now. And that stinks. Because the team really needs to hear that support right now. That's accurate. I know at times we don't want to get all, esoteric about the way we talk about these teams in sports. But it's a factor. And the thing I would say is, they need to be more clear about the message. People took something and ran with it. That's not on the team. Nobody has said they can't be criticized. I don't think anybody from the team has said, you can't criticize us. At all. I don't know where that narrative started. I really don't. I don't know. Nobody wants this team to be in the position in the standings it is. Nobody. There's no acceptance of that. I don't know where that narrative has started either. Just all I say is, when it comes to the support, don't walk away because the team is not winning right now. Because teams sometimes don't win. Especially when you have the things that have happened this year. And there's a number of them. And you want to call them excuses? That's fine. That's fine. There's a number of things going on. There's a number of different things that have made this a very challenging year. And they have not had the results to back it up. Is what it is. I don't know. I hope it changes. I hope the attitude changes. We'll see when fans get in the building if it changes. I worry that it's permeated so far through it now that some of these narratives have taken hold. Very frustrated that this has started in this way and that people have gone down this road. Very frustrated that now whatever the team tweets is being studied like, I don't know. And parsed apart, and I mean, now it's like the word "true" was that it? Was that it? True fans, we see you. I mean, really? They didn't say true fans are those who don't criticize. We only see the fans who don't criticize. Nobody said that. People have read that. People have created that. People have written that. The team didn't say that. It just didn't happen. And I don't know, Unc. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of people have read that as the team said they see true fans and that others aren't true fans. If you want to look at it that way, go ahead. Nobody can stop you. That's not the way I read it at all. They were showing fans who were in the building the day before, putting banners up because they couldn't be there themselves. They said, "We see you." If you want to take it to be something else, as I've said, the team has not said they can't be criticized. If you want to take it to somewhere else, I don't know what else to tell you. But there's a lot of people who are, and there's a lot of storylines being created out of it, and there's a lot of things being written, there's a lot of things being said about it. Of course, I am a little biased because I do call the team's games on radio. That is accurate. But I would like to be shown where some of these narratives started from real stuff, not somebody writing it or saying it or tweeting it. Because I'm sorry, it's not there. It's just not there. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Unc, you're my boy. You're cool. It's all good. You're not the only one saying these things, and I appreciate you saying them because we get to have the conversation about it. And I hope that people do appreciate that we talk about it. I'm giving you my opinion. If you disagree, please, that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm telling you how I feel about it. and I'm trying to be as unbiased in giving you my opinion as I possibly can. But I'm telling you how I feel. And it's completely fine to disagree. Please don't let that narrative get started that I don't allow criticism. Jeez. Please do. And I'm glad we get to have these conversations. And I'm feeding off of what you guys are saying, and I'm answering back with how I feel about it. And if we disagree, we disagree. Doesn't mean it has to be disrespectful. Doesn't mean it has to turn into anything more than that. It is all good. It is all good. Nuance down here. Good one, Mizzano. I like that. Anything else on Twitter we have to get to? Because it is 11:37.
I know. A couple. And
Domer, I do not like Monster more than Red Bull. That is completely inaccurate. That's a wild, unfounded rumor. I don't like Monster at all. It's gross.
I like the one that they mixed with the lemonade. What is it? The I can't. It's a rebuild or regrowth or whatever.
There was one fruit punch thing that was okay. But no, I like Red Bull. And there was a new Red Bull flavor I found this weekend. It was exciting. The Arctic Blast. It's their new winter. It's raspberry, which I normally don't like, but it was pretty good. It's not as good as the Plum Twist, though. And if they've replaced the Plum Twist with this winter one, I'm sad. The Plum Twist was excellent. The raspberry one's okay. It's okay. It's better than the blue and the yellow and the stupid green one and the regular flavored Red Bull. But it's like in the middle of my power rankings.
Yeah. Okay, just another couple. And B. Wallace says he thinks Atlanta United needs to be in a hurry to get their new manager. I think that the philosophy of not hurrying to find a manager as the roster changes continue is what got Atlanta United in trouble. Too many great pieces, but they all belong to different puzzles. They need a manager that can get the pieces to the same puzzle. That's just his 2 cents.
I disagree in the sense that it's different puzzles because I don't think the puzzle's changed. It's the same puzzle that it was in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. It's the same puzzle. Now, maybe different managers see the pieces a little bit differently, but it's still the same puzzle. You're not going to have a manager come in and dramatically change the way the roster is being constructed. That's a fallacy. That's just it's not accurate. It's not how any team outside of probably Sporting Kansas City in this league builds. Even Bob Bradley, he doesn't have ultimate say. They have input and they make suggestions of what they want, but they're not going out and negotiating these things. They're not going out and saying, "Okay, I want this player. I'm going to go get this player right now. I have unlimited amount of money to spend. Done." That's just not how it works. It's not how it works in most clubs around the world. I mean, Jose Mourinho's had this battle at Tottenham. It was very clear in All or Nothing. They're not going to put it out there and say, otherwise just to create a narrative. Like, he wanted players, and you can't just say, I want players, and I go get players. Like, it's not that easy. So, it's now there's the both sides of this narrative of you need to go get somebody right now, or you need to wait and get the right person. You need to get the right person. If that right person is available right now, you go get them. If you are not convinced that the right person is available right now, you keep looking. That's where I stand with it. I don't think you need to get somebody right now as opposed to getting the right person, because that's what it comes down to. The immediate need is not more than making the hire correct. That's where I fall on it. And I don't think it affects the way the roster is constructed or the pieces. I think you're going to go get these kinds of pieces anyway. A new manager would not come in and say, I don't want Marcelino Moreno. It just wouldn't. And I have no idea why there's negativity about that signing right now at all. That's craziness.
Nick Brawley, I'm probably one of the few at this point, and I understand that we can still do well this season if we fix our mistakes, but I'm extremely pumped for next season. Joseph back, new coach, some new players possibly, fans possibly back in the bins. No reason for hate.
No, yeah, I guess that's where it's gotten frustrated is that it has turned into where it's feeling that way, and there's no reason for that. Man, you can't turn on a team that fast and where it turns that negative that fast. Because last year was not negative. Period. Sorry. If you wanted the team to score more goals in the first half of the season, fine. But last year's results, not negative. If that's negative, you're setting a bar that is really difficult to reach on a regular basis. And you're going to be disappointed on a regular basis. That's just a fact. So I don't know. But, I mean, this year, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Joseph Martinez getting hurt, I thought they would find a way to deal with it better. They haven't. The stop-start nature of the season has made it harder. The compressed schedule, now that you're back playing, you're playing a number of games in a short period of time. Talk to any player in the world who is going through it in any league in the world, and they will tell you it's very difficult. It is affecting it. It is a struggle. Some teams are dealing with it better than others. It doesn't mean it's not a struggle. You add all that up, it's a really crappy year right now. You've still got time to have a better finish to the year. I hope that happens. And, yes, then you have a next season where hopefully you will have fans in the stands from day one, and hopefully you will be in a position to be better than you were this year, and you'll be back to where you were. You need to. And that's getting all these moves right is a big part of that. But, yeah, this year has been a challenge on so many different fronts, and it's been tough.
Last one on the board comes from Tafka about Rafa. Rafa? Tafka? Tafka? Rafa. See, I didn't get through that one. He says Rafa's more aggressive when he has the horses to be more aggressive, and even when he isn't being more aggressive, it isn't a Van Gaal-esque slow possession style of play.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't have a problem with chasing Rafa Benitez. I would love to hear what he would want to do with this team in this league and with the bulk of the roster that he would have to work with. I would love to hear it. He would, because he has, and because there's a track record, he would be focused on the team defending well, which Frank was not out of line for wanting the team to defend well either. Tata did too, and that's been forgotten. There's nothing wrong with those things. The possession to keep the team organized, yes, it needs to be quicker. And yes, it was quicker for Frank de Boer's Atlanta United in the second half of the season. It absolutely was. Got to give credit for that. You have to give credit for that. And I think it was at the beginning of this season. And that's really 2 games against Motagua. And really 1 game because you approached the game in Honduras differently. You played a 4-3-3 there. You went to the 3-4-3 at home. They looked great. First half in Nashville, they looked okay. And then Joseph is out, and then everything's different. But you're going to, no matter who comes in, there will be a focus on defending better. Because you look at this team right now, and you see the way they're conceding. It is not overall defending. It is not bad defensive players. It is goals off set pieces. It is goals off dead ball situations. And it is goals in transition. That will 100% be a focus. Because as the babyface turn of Jose Mourinho in All or Nothing tells us, and he made it clear in that, when they were struggling to score goals, if you don't concede, you're not going to lose. If you don't concede goals, you're not going to lose. That's the part you can control. Scoring goals is a very difficult thing to do. When you are lacking your best players to do that, you've got to find other ways to compete. The best thing you can affect is not giving up goals. And in this case, not giving up bad goals. And Atlanta United's giving up far too many bad goals. And that's got to stop. That's got to stop. That's the number one thing. And whoever comes in, that's going to be a big focus of it. That's a big focus for Stephen Glass right now. It's going to be a focus for whoever comes in. You can't concede bad goals. If you concede bad goals, you're not going to win a lot of games. Period.
No. And 4Card came in and he wanted to know if we were still talking. He says, y'all are still talking?
We're still talking. We're still talking. Modiflow appreciates how late we stay over on these, and no problem. It's a time where there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's also 11:46. Ragamuffin says, I heard somewhere that Jason likes Monster more than Red Bull. Is that true? See what happens with these rumors? See what happens? Jason Nix. Jason's trying to leave, and John's just a reading. That's accurate.
True. I'm not reading no more.
Ricky Ricardo says that I'm not a true Red Bull fan. That's good stuff. I like it. Uncle, I love this team. I'm in the town with a team that I've followed a lot longer than Atlanta United FC, and the Five Stripes are still my number one. I just want better. And, yeah, we all do. And we're all on the same page, my friend. We're all on the same page. Mazzano showed you a yellow card for wasting time. I completely agree with that. That's not a yellow card. That's folded up paper. It's not the same thing.
It's the closest thing I have on short notice.
Mataflo wants this to become mate down here, which I'm not against. I need to get back into my mate. I need to get like the true mate setup, not the cheap imitation with the tea bags. I need to get a gourd. I need to get a bombilla. I need to get like the real thing and have the thermos of hot water carrying around with me all the time. If I'm going to do this, I need to really do it.
See, now you're getting me getting all hungry for Las Brasas all over again.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I still have an Inca Cola I need to drink. Yeah, if I'm going to do it, I need to go full in and totally commit to being mate down here. I've not committed, and I've gotten away from it. I do need to add a little bit of like sugar or honey. I usually go honey to it because I just need a little bit of sweetness to it. I need to go full mate down here. It needs to happen, Mataflo. I'm with you. Soccer for good OG. I'm bummed about the results, especially when it's frustratingly close to being right, but I know those front office peeps are smarter than me when it comes to these things, and I've got to trust the process. It is a process, and I'm a little surprised that trust has disappeared this quickly. I think if it wasn't some fan favorites that were moved when, again, we went through it. I mean, you didn't have a whole lot of choices. If they were not fan favorites, it would have been a different conversation. And I do think that there is a feeling of hurt because they are players that fans really liked. And it happens, and I get it. But that shouldn't mean that there is no trust in the front office. I think that part is a stretch. I'm with you, Uncle. You don't want to spend the larger part of 2021 finding direction. And I don't think there's anything to point you in that direction yet. You're going to see additions to the roster. You're going to have decisions to make, and I don't know all the contract situations coming up at the end of the year, but I'm assuming that those are being discussed and made now, even if they're not going to be announced, because options aren't picked up yet, and you're not going to tip your hand on stuff.
Right.
That's a big part of it is a lot of people have said, well, you have to explain everything from the front office and from communications. Like, there's things you can't. Like, you can't put yourself at a competitive disadvantage. You can't say, well, we're going to move 5 players on from the season. Like, you want to be still dealing from a position of strength when you're dealing with transfers, when you're dealing with trades. Like, there's a lot to it that you've got to keep in-house. That's just part of the business.
Yep.
But no, I don't want to spend a large part of 21 finding direction either. You will have a new manager who I would assume will be here, in preseason, not before the end of this season, but things can happen. And yeah, it won't be day one. I mean, it wasn't day one for most managers around the world. It wasn't day one for Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. It wasn't for Pep at Bayern or City or even Barca. It does take some time in the season. So even if like the first couple of games take a little bit of time, that you got to give a little bit of time there. The larger part of 21, no, I don't want to see that. If it takes a month, okay, that's part of the process. Shiva said, didn't the team Twitter the fans to let it all out after a loss? That is inviting criticism. That's 100% accurate. And people said they wanted the team to do things like that, and then I don't know if it was the same people or if it was different people saying that they can't do that, and that's a bad look. So again, if you're winning, nobody's talking about it. If you're losing, it's an easy target, and it's a cheap target and an incorrect target, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Katie, yes, this is why John was double fisting Mountain Dew, because it is 11:50 and we're still talking. That is accurate. Ricky, we don't want to get to a place where we don't care or are numb to the results. I've gotten that way about other teams, and it's not what sports should be. Absolutely. And it's up to the fans to keep that going. That's why I'm always blown away, by seeing the singing in the stands in Argentina and in other countries, and how passionate that support is, even for smaller teams, for teams that are struggling. It has an effect. And right now you can't, unfortunately. But whatever you can do to show these players, and the club is not as important in this. It's the players, because they need that lift. And you can't get it by screaming for them in the stands, but I don't know what can be done. If there's anything you can do, I'm sure they would appreciate it right now, because you see it have an effect on teams. Ragamuffin, we're killing your phone. That's an impressive thing today. Mataflo wants to play 4 or 5 center backs and no midfield just to give Wyke and Campbell some playing time. Sure, why not at this point? Shiva, you're awesome. Soccer for Good OG, you're awesome. Hutcho, you're awesome. Uncle, you're awesome. All y'all are awesome.
Yep.
Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. All of you are great. Thanks for spending time with us. It's all good. Like I said, if you disagree, that is completely fine. I don't have a problem with it. If you want to talk about it, tweet at me at Longshoe. Go for it. It's all good. You know where I am. I don't know. It is frustrating because the team's not winning. We all want it to win. I feel like some of the targets that people are lashing out at are unfair. Hopefully we get some better results this week. We'll talk a lot about Wednesday and the rest going forward, and we'll keep pushing because that's what we do. We're not going anywhere. We're not doing 8 hours of soccer down here, Mazzano. We will be back at 7 o'clock for soccer over there, and we'll talk about all of the leagues in Europe. We'll talk about Copa Libertadores. We'll talk about everything else going on. That's at 7. Until then, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to eat some lunch, and I'm probably going to have a cup of tea because, yes, now I feel it, and not because I've drank cold liquids, but because we've been talking for 3 hours.
Saves your pipes.
Yep. No. That's just, I'm going to stop talking. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody who shares what we do. Thanks for everybody who spends your time with us. Thanks for all of you for sticking with us for this long.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. We'll be back at 7 for soccer over there. We'll be back in the morning for soccer down here. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.